Okay, Sarah, we are live and you may begin whenever you're ready. Did we lose Sarah?
Yes, it looks like we lost Sarah.
There she is.
There she is.
Sorry, folks. I think I got kicked out. I think I'm back.
Okay, well, we're ready. We're live and you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to our March regular board meeting. This is the last board meeting for this group of us, 22-23 board, before we go to our annual meeting in April. We do have some opening remarks, some of it a little sobering. So I will start with Mac to share some comments on one of our colleagues that we lost this month. Mac, do you want to go?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I want to say a few words about one of our longtime employees here who unfortunately passed earlier this month, and she means quite a bit to the staff here and more importantly to the entire community. So we wanted to take a few minutes here at the board meeting, and I believe some of her family may be on the call tonight, to say a few words about what she's meant to her colleagues here, but more importantly to the overall Reston community. And so Lisa Shepard is the woman's name. She came to work for us in October of 2005. She started as a seasonal pathway worker. She brought a bulldog tough attitude to her duties every day, and there wasn't a task or fellow employee Lisa did not approach with a confident and honest demeanor. Her work ethic earned her a full-time position down at CSF in September of 2008, and she had a love for all things Reston and really was very passionate about the community. She's a longtime resident. She was a South Lakes graduate, an active community member, and Lisa had a deep love for Reston and the RA. Lisa would always participate in the daily morning break room discussions, which would range from her favorite team, the Redskins, and we'll call them the Redskins for this tribute, to the hottest political topics. And very few of those discussions ended with Lisa on the short end of the stick. She had great respect for her coworkers and truly believed in the RA mission. Her smile would brighten any room. But more than that, even though RA meant the world to Lisa, her family and especially her grandchildren were the light of her life. As the matriarch of several generations, Lisa dedicated every waking moment to making the lives of her children and grandchildren happy and successful. And on behalf of the entire RA family, I just want to tell the community that Lisa's going to be missed, not only for the dedicated employee that she was, but also as a friend and RA family member. So I just thank you, Sarah, and the board for allowing us an opportunity to honor the contribution she's made here in the Reston community for all the work she's done here at RA.
Thank you so much, Mike. That picture was perfect. I think that's how we want to remember her. That's who she was. If there's anyone else here who want to say a few words for Lisa, we're happy to open it up. If any staff member are here that want to remember her, recognize her. Family, if family's here, you want to say a few words, I'm happy to share time here. Any of my colleagues on the board, if you want to share any thoughts too, please feel free to. That's it. Yes, Larry, go ahead, Larry. You're on mute.
They will let me unmute. We can hear you.
We
Uh,
hear
you're
you.
Good, we hear you.
Yeah, very
We've
good.
only
Yeah,
had 3 years of Zoom meetings. We'll figure it out soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, I had to have Brittany give me the, special privilege there. So, having worked with Lisa, obviously I was here for all of her tenure. And I think Mac's description of her was spot on. She was tough. That's all I like best about her. You get into a discussion about it, and if she had an opinion, she would share it. And sometimes she would share it again, but it was great. She was fun to debate. And anyways, so I'm glad her family's here, and I wish you all Godspeed. She was a great woman, and she was a great asset and friend for Reston Association for many, many years.
Thank you, Larry. That was very sweet. And there's something in the water at RA. How do you and Lisa not age? She had grandchildren. She looks like she was 16 in that picture. Laura, sorry, I see you with your hand up. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I just wanted to say a couple of words. She's the words that have been said are wonderful, but I think that one of the things that I really will remember about Lisa is her smile. When she flashed her smile, it was a true smile, and it was a pleasure working with her. And if there are any family members on, she will absolutely be missed. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, folks. Anyone else? Again, please feel free to drop in and chat. If you join later, we're happy to include you at any point. That said, I also have some not farewells. Let's just say thank yous. We have 5 of our colleagues on the board here where this will be at least our last board meeting together for this year. There will be a new term, probably new officers, but I just wanted to take the moment to thank. When we started this out earlier in the year, I know, John, you said, I'm responsible for everyone here to get on the board. I'm going to steal from that and go. I think I begged, bullied, pleaded, and got a lot of you folks on the board here. But it's been a fantastic year. Thank you to our at-large directors, Bob Petrine, our treasurer. He is up for re-election. Here's a shameless plug-in. There's still a week more to vote. Please vote. Bob is up for the 1-year position. We have our at-large director John Farrell, who is also running for election for the 3-year seat. We've got Margaret Perry, who is currently our Hunters Woods Dogwood District Director, but is running for the 3-year at-large seat. We have Travis, who is currently an at-large director, but is running for his Hunters Woods Dogwood District seat. And we also have Director Collins, who none of us can vote for, but we like having on the board. He is our apartment owners representative. So directors, if you have any comments you want to make, please take a moment. Feel free. Anyone have any thoughts you want to share? Yes, no, nope. Thank you so much. Laurie, go ahead, Laurie.
Just briefly, I have really enjoyed my time on the board with you all. And my only complaint is that you all have run your candidacies so that now I've got to make choices among you when I would like to serve with all of you again. So thank you for all that you've done with Reston Association.
Thank you, Laurie. Tony, can we add more board directors? Is that something we can all just vote on and add a few more?
Unfortunately not.
Of course, bearer of good news always. Thank you, Tony. That said,
I've got
folks,
other nicknames if you want.
Well, as Tony wished us when we started, expeditiously, we will try to get through. These remarks were important, and so we wanted to take the time to do this. That said, I know next item we have is the approval of the agenda, but we have some motions for amending the agenda. So if anybody would like to make a motion, I will leave it open. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so I would motion to amend the agenda to add a topic on the member survey as a discussion/action item with a recommendation to make it O prime, I guess. And
L prime or O prime?
O prime. I just
So
picked
you want,
CN.
you want it
and
under capital projects? Okay.
Yeah, I'm amenable to, something
Okay.
else if someone wants it.
Bob,
Uh,
Bob and Margaret, is that okay? I know you had talked about doing a motion. Is that okay in the agenda?
That's fine.
O Prime?
Okay. I'd also like to switch items F and G, rotate them uh, between each other. So executive session would go first and CEO goals would go second.
And Mac, are you okay with that? I know we had part of the CEO goals. We wanted to go into executive session, and that's why we had it in that order.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That's fine. Okay.
Yep.
And then I'd like to suggest that we change items L, N, and O, which are pool schedules, land use, and rest and comprehensive plan, and the capital budgets, to discussion versus just informational items.
Did you want discussion / action or just discussion?
I guess there could be actions related to each of them. I don't have any
do you have
prepared.
Okay.
I don't have any prepared currently, no.
Okay. Other,
If we move them to discussions, then I would just ask that we allow some extra time for each of them because they're pretty short on the agenda, but I don't know if you want to start messing with the exact times. So that's my motion for the agenda changes.
Second.
other directors, any thoughts, any comments? Yes, Lori?
For
Go ahead,
those
Lori.
topics that are to be changed from informational only to information and discussion, can I suggest that we also make them action, make it so that we have the
Discussion /
option
action. Yes.
of
yeah.
action, if
Okay.
that seems appropriate among our discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
So just
Any
to
other
restate the motion, Madam President. So as I understand, Director Juszczyk is moving to adopt the agenda with the changes that she made. So it's adopted with those changes.
Correct, John. That's it. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
Anyone else,
I know.
any other comments or thoughts on the agenda changes? If not, we can call vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you so much. So those three, the L, N, and O, are discussion / action. Right?
Yes.
Brittany, you've got the changes. Thank you so much. Okay, moving to consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Okay, I will move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Erwin. Bob, did you have any thoughts?
Nope, I was just going to second.
Thank you. Any discussion, folks? If not, we can vote on it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Mike? Yes, perfect. That's unanimous too. Thank you. Moving into member comments. Brittany, do we have anyone pre-registered for member comments?
Yes, we have a few people signed up for member comments this evening. I'm going to start off first with Rafael Juarez.
Okay, and folks, if you're not comfortable sharing your address in public, you can send it as a chat message to Brittany, our board liaison. And you have 3 minutes as an individual and 5 minutes as a cluster or an organization. I do see Rafael. Hi, go ahead, sir.
Hello, I'm the owner at 2467 Pyrenees Court. And the resident association has been going against me about my yard. And I feel like I've been going out of my way. You know, when they first sent me the pictures, yes, it was a mess. But I was dealing with roof issues. So they called me, they sent me the letters, I responded and told them that and I went ahead and fixed everything. I mulched my yard, took all the trash out, got rid of the wiring, and even added a lattice. You know, I talked to Miss Seda the first time, but then after that, when the deadline came, you know, she went blank, didn't talk to me until after. So they started charging me like $10 a day. And it went to 900 and they dropped it to 6. And I'm like, I'm doing all this extra work for them and I feel like I shouldn't have to pay them. I have pictures, proof. They go into my yard and look at my look at my property. And I feel like it's a little invasive. You can't see it from the walkway or the sidewalk.
Thank you, sir. Cam, do you want to share a little bit about the process and his options, if you can?
I'm not sure that's appropriate for, this is a legal committee matter.
But you have reached out to him and updated him on where his property stands.
I have personally communicated with the homeowner.
So I will follow up with staff on the next steps. I don't think here at this board meeting we can take any action, but we will absolutely follow up with you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing today.
Are you? Is that referred to me? Because they told me to come
Yeah.
to the board meeting to discuss this matter.
The property owner is here for a matter that's before the legal committee report for tonight's adoption by the board.
Yes.
Also, I'm in the
Thank you,
wrong
sir.
meeting.
No. You are in the
So-
right meeting. It's just in the wrong part of the meeting. So please hold on. I will call you back in a few minutes. We will go into executive session to have that discussion. We will bring you in there.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All righty, Brittany, who's next? Folks, it's 4 a.m. where I'm at, so I'm sorry if I'm not on top of it.
No worries. Next, we have Suzanne Funk and Jim Gottlieb.
Okay,
Please raise your hand if you are on the meeting.
do you see Suzanne?
I don't see Suzanne or Jim, so I'm going to move on to the next member request.
Okay,
Barbara and James LaRock. Please raise your hand if you're on the meeting.
don't see a Barbara either on my screen.
All right. Next, we have Waltraud Hargreaves. Mr. Hargreaves, if you're on the meeting, please raise your hand. I do not see him on the meeting. And
Did they have any comments they wanted you to share, or was it just request to be?
just requests. I do have a few who have requested in the chat box, so I'll get to them after this list here.
Sure.
Mr. Sam Vade. I do see Sam on the meeting tonight. I'm not certain if, can you unmute? There you are.
Yes, I actually wasn't planning on speaking today. I was just here to listen. Essentially, I have the same thing going on with my yard. Unfortunately, I'm, waiting on Washington Gas. I put in the request since November of 2022, and they still haven't, sent out the right crew. There've been about half a dozen people here. And I'm just trying to work through the process to get the gas line in, because they have to tear up the front yard. So, I didn't want to put in my landscape plan until after all that work was done. I didn't want to rip out any things, but so that's essentially where I am on my landscape plan. I'm working with Washington Gas as closely as I can. I'm just trying to push it through. So yeah, that's all I really came to say.
Is this also part of our legal committee?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. I think you heard me. If you could hang on for a little bit once we go into executive session, if any of our directors have questions, we'll bring you in.
Sure.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Okay, Brittany?
Right. Next, we have Michael. I don't have a last name, but
I
I'm
do
going
see
to
it.
ask you to unmute. Oh, wait a minute.
He's got his camera on.
There we go.
Hi. Can you unmute?
Just lost him again. Oh, there we go. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Michael.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think I actually have been before the board previously, but some of you look very familiar. My name is Michael Habash. I live off of Barton Hill Road, which is down near Sunrise Valley Elementary School. I'm just coming to the board today First, I actually would like to say thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all this evening. I also want to express what little condolences I can. Unfortunately, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Lisa, but it sounds like many of you were very close to her. And finally, I'd like to thank Melissa Marone. She's a member of the Fairfax County School Board, and she encouraged myself and Michelle, who's also on the call, to talk to you tonight. So we just want to come to you. I want to come to you and talk to you about an issue that we're having with some school safety here. The RA path, which takes students, they walk to school along that path, which crosses Barton Hill Road, is currently in a position that is causing students to create some risk of being potentially hit by a car. We've had a cyclist hit there a couple of years ago, and it's really kind of an oddly placed crossing across Barton Hill Road. So I know Reston is fantastic with pedestrian amenities. It does better than 99% of cities in the United States, and that's a lot of the work that this board does. So I would like just to encourage the board to do what it can to have somebody take a look at that crossing and consider moving the RA path that is currently crossing Barton Hill Road. It actually oddly turns towards Sunrise Valley Drive. Consider moving it further south, away from the intersection, to give cars more opportunity to see pedestrians and stop. I know when I cross there with my children, makes me very nervous. And I know a lot of other parents have the same concern. I've talked to VDOT about this already. There's some concern about providing sufficient stopping distance or sight distance for cars as they make the turn, which to me is kind of comical. They're concerned about this because moving it in would only increase that sight distance. Where it is currently now, you get like 40 feet of sight distance. So anything that you do to kind of make this a better intersection, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for the condolences. Thank you. Just quick question before I forget, Larry, is this something MTAC and we can look at when we talk to Walter as well, please?
Yes, yeah, MTAC has taken a kind of an early look at it. And this is something that came up last night at our Barton Hill meeting. And so we do have it on our, we'll call it a work program, for lack of a better term, to look into in advance of bringing it back to the board in May or June.
Sounds good. And it came up at the listening session as well, it sounds like. So
Correct.
Be helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Next, we have Izzy. I don't have a last name, but I do believe she's on the meeting.
I do see her. Hi.
And they have all provided their addresses in the chat, so I have
Perfect. Hi, Izzy, go for it.
Hi, thank you so much, everybody. I want to take this opportunity to just thank you and thank those board members that were present last night, Larry and Jennifer. But I want to take this opportunity one more time to reach all of you to express my opinion on the pickleball situation on our street. April 2010, a cyclist was struck and critically injured in Reston Thursday evening, Fairfax County Police said. A man collided with a Saturn sedan on Sunrise Valley Drive on Barton Hill Road about 6 p.m., said the police. The cyclist was flown to Inova Fairfax Hospital with life-threatening injuries. The same situation repeated itself in 2016. Although there was no media coverage, a Willow Ridge neighbor did hit somebody in that same spot. June 2017, a black Ford Explorer hit Barton Hill tennis courts. We had damage on the Barton Hill recreation sign, a trash can was demolished, and an entry gate was badly damaged, said RA. Last spring, as students were let out and I was walking home my child and many other parents, we either heard or saw a car accident. Many parents ran over for help. These are just some of the stories of what you can either find online or if you live on our street. And I haven't even touched, and pardon my French, the oh shit moments of what could have happened that didn't happen, thankfully. The takeaway for this team is that RA needs a de-risking strategy. Currently, the scope for the pickleballs only champions pickleball players. The scope is about a construction site. It doesn't address the downstream effects that occur once we see increased traffic. And let's be honest, pickleball's not going away, it's going to thrive, which means the increased risk is going to happen. The current scope needs to be more equitable. I can't stress that enough. How will this board create a more equitable plan for the residents of Barton Hill Road, the Sunrise Valley students that walk to school, the South Lakes High School track team that uses that path for track practice, and the pickleball players themselves. The board should only move forward with the pickleball plan if it scopes as well something that moves the path forward, like Michael said. He's my neighbor. Hi, Michael. I want to thank Jennifer for visiting our intersection a few days ago, as you told me last night, and I appreciate that. And I invite all of you to come to my neighborhood on my street. I will bring charcuterie, and we can all sit there and watch what happens, because you will see that this is not a joke. I understand that this is not a major intersection that currently has lots of issues, but it's about to become one because the current scope fails to address the foreshadowing that's going to happen. So I really thank you for listening to me. I hope we can have a dialogue. I hope we can move the path. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me, because the board liaison has my address.
Thank you, Izzy. Thank you so much for your comments.
Madam President, may I ask the speaker a question?
Sure.
Izzy, thank you for speaking up last night and for coming tonight. Do I understand you correctly that even if for some reason we were not to go forward with the Barton Hill tennis improvements, that addressing the problems at that intersection is something you'd like the association to do?
Yes, it is my basic understanding that that path is an RA path. It's also come to my knowledge that it's something that's being explored, and some people on this board have been trying to champion. So if it's a matter of educating you all on this intersection, then I'm being serious. I will break bread with you. We will have charcuterie, and we'll just sit there and you will see what happens, because it happens at peak hours. And with the increased traffic of the pickleball, it's going to happen, especially if you're about to have a tournament. And I know Lifetime is trying to have a league with RA, and I know that is just going to be a buzzing hot spot, which just means, what is the de-risking strategy that this board is willing to bring forward?
Thank you.
Thank
May
you,
I ask a
Izzy.
question?
Sure, go ahead.
Izzy, I have a child at Sunrise Valley, and I would love to, I have not been to the intersection yet, but I would love to see it. So I will, when I take her to school tomorrow, I will make sure that I go by and see, and maybe spend some time by it, and just kind of watch to see what the apparent risks are, and then look at the articles that you sent.
Yeah, I mean, Michael is a walker. I'm a walker. There's somebody here on this call, Michelle, also another parent. We can all meet you there. I'll bring you Starbucks. What is it? Like, I'm being serious. Let's have a dialogue, because
I don't need a thing. I just I would just love to talk to you and see see what's going on there.
You have to see it to believe it.
What time?
The school drop-off time is perfect, Travis, because that's when
my drop-off is at I will be there no later than 8:55. Well, I'll be at the school at 8:55, so I'll be at the intersection by 9.
I will see you at 9 a.m.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, Brittany.
Okay.
Got any others?
Next, I have Michelle Kimmel, who has her hand raised here. Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, great. Hi, I'll be short because you pretty much just heard what I wanted to add as well. I greatly appreciate the effort to look at this crossing. I will add one other point. Obviously you're hearing from us as 3 parents, but this is also a key crossing for a lot of folks in South Reston to get to the WNOD trail. So this is of great importance to the entire community, and we just want to keep people safe, and we think we have an opportunity here. What we'd like to make sure that we see is, a dialogue and conversation is the first step. And we really want to make sure that we really get some movement here. And so, before people have been told that this is a VDOT issue, it really appears that this is an RA issue, and RA needs to lead the charge. And so this is doable as long as we have the support of the board and the effort of staff to move this forward. So we really look forward to this, and we're thankful to have, a new CEO leading the charge too. And we look forward to hear what the next steps and progress will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think Brittany, I see Laura with her hand up. If you don't have any others, can we unmute?
I do actually. I had, but go ahead. I think, go ahead and I'm going to ask you to unmute Laura. There you go.
I'm happy to wait, but I just will add, I'd like to join that meeting at 9 in the morning because all of the parking for Barton Hill tennis courts abuts that intersection directly. You're only a few yards till you get to the parking, and it's going to be a massive congestion of traffic as parking goes in and out where you want to relocate the trail to. So all of those things need to be considered. The parking is limited. And incidentally, I'll say very quickly, I was out on a deck with a friend having a glass of wine at 6 p.m. when 2 pickleball players came, only 2 playing singles, and you can clearly hear the pickleball on every back deck in our division. And that's all I'll say. Thank you. And thank you for the meeting last night. That was very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Brittany, did you need Laura's address?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. 10964 Harper Square Court.
Thank you. Do we have any others?
Lastly, I have Travis, who would like to make a member's comment.
I would. So,
Hi, Travis.
Hi. So, good evening. I'm Travis Johnson. I live at 11741 Dry River Court, and I'm here tonight as a candidate for a seat on the board, not as a member of the board. I'd just like to express my disappointment at the quality of election communications from the association. From my perspective as a resident of South Reston and the sole candidate for the Hunterswood Dogwood District, RA has done woefully little to ensure that ballots are cast. While I understand emails have been sent and ballots have been mailed, it was very disappointing to see just one outdoor sign on the Dogwood side of Glade. I understand that you've added more now, and I appreciate that, but that doesn't solve the long-term problem. I'm not one to complain without making suggestions, so I recommend that in the future, we have signs in multiple languages at the entrances to each cluster and each apartment complex. I recommend partnering with the Kathy Hudgens Community Center at Southgate and RCC to have supervised kiosks for multiple days per week throughout the election month where folks can vote. We can simplify the voting system so people don't need their printed username and password to vote at these kiosks. We should partner with local schools and businesses to let people know that it's time to vote and the importance of voting. And we need to make it abundantly clear that RA voting is for all residents, not just for homeowners. I don't think this board will ever be fully reflective of the broad diversity of the Reston community if we don't hear the Reston community's voices. Thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments on Travis' point? With this has been every single one of us who've done the RA elections have had to face this challenge. But absolutely, I think a bigger conversation with the elections committee and with our communications team will, again, not help this year, but fingers crossed, the future set the tone. The languages is a big part, especially in your district. I know the multiple languages, but thank you for bringing that up. Any other directors, any questions, thoughts, comments? Brittany, is that it on members?
That's all I have signed up for members.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just want to know, as a board, do we have to refer that to the elections committee officially? And
Tony, I'll let you answer that.
When would be the appropriate time during the meeting to do that if we do?
I would encourage Travis to submit that in writing to the elections committee. That way it can be part of their May meeting where they basically try to shake out the bugs.
I will make sure to do that. Thank you.
I think for this year, Brittany has already helped us put out more signs. If there's anything in addition of sending out emails, we're happy to. But also the elections committee reaches out to us at the end and asks the candidates for suggestions. I think it's just the continued follow-up when we go back into the next election season that the board needs to, keep the pressure on to bring some of these policies to place. So thank you, Travis, for that. Okay, if we do not have any other member comments, we can go right into our agenda. We've all watched Mac's very first video. Thank you, Mac, for that. It was very well done. Any questions, directors, any comments, any thoughts? I love the farmer's market idea. Be great to see SLT there and others. Directors, any thoughts, comments, or questions for Mac? Yes, John, go ahead.
Mac, I know we all, when we say farmer's market, we think of Lake Ann, but there's one at St. John's Newman on Wednesday afternoons. And I think that's probably a good place, particularly for those of us who live south of Reston, the south half of Reston, to do some business and show the flag and buy our pool passes and the like. It's not run by the county, but I'm sure we can figure out who we can get in touch with to put up a tent there. So just trying to get geographic equity.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, John. And I'll just put this out to everyone. If you think of events, put the word out. I'm working with Laura Kowalski, and we want to be as out in the community as possible. The Lake Ann event is a weekly event that obviously thousands of people come through, but we're certainly looking for ongoing events on the south part of Reston as well as those kind of special once in a summer things. So our main objective, as I was trying to say, hopefully the video was okay, but we want to be more visible out there as RA and not be asking people to come to HQ. So if you have ideas of where that can happen, please drop Laura and I a line and we'll see if we can make that work.
John, my next door neighbor is a parishioner there, and I will reach out to him and find out who the PSE is.
Yeah, it's not run by the church. The church gives an organization permission to use their parking lot on Wednesday afternoons.
Okay.
They do have the context. Any other questions, directors? Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just wanted to volunteer if you need board members to also sit at the table. I would be willing to volunteer, and my guess is there'd probably be other board members that would be willing to do that as well. So happy to help supplement staff on site. And then I just had one question, because we're getting into the spring season when I know the staff are usually lining up advertising and sponsorships for the rest of the year. And we've struggled the last few years, I think mostly because of COVID, to kind of meet those revenue targets. So I was just wondering if you've had a sense yet of, where, if we might meet those revenue targets, or a plan for how we're moving those along, or any feedback you need from us.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm not in a place to message on the revenue targets yet, but we are building the business plan, and we expect that to be a topic that you all want to talk about going into the budget season. So I think there probably are a couple of things that I'll put out there, and maybe the board give me some feedback, because we are getting into the point of the year where it would be good for me to know if there are things that are on your mind. And I can probably answer that question, then ask a question back to the board. This is actually a pretty good CEO update kind of conversation. So for example, one of my commitments when we first started talking last summer is that we would not be out in front of the board relating to special events or non-assessment revenue, which also is a portion of how we go out and sell sponsorships. And I have heard in individual conversations that there may be things from a value system standpoint that the board's not interested in, but I don't know that to be true. So let me just throw a few things out there that come up pretty regularly, and you can give me some feedback. There were sort of three main areas, I think, off the top of my head, that would fit in this topic. One is our physical facilities. One are like programmatic things. Like just last night, we heard about tournaments and things that might happen that could be revenue generators for tennis or pickleball or whatever. And then there are all these special events. So I'll throw out a few things that I've heard, but haven't yet confirmed. Things like, well, in the past, the board wasn't interested in like private companies sponsoring a field, like Wainwright Field sponsored by pick a big tech company, or something like that. There have been ideas in the past to do beer festivals or other certain kinds of special events. My main objective is to get our membership out And I think of these kinds of opportunities through the lens of a little bit of a community building opportunity and what some people might call the country club model, and from a business standpoint. And what I mean by that is the member assessments in the country club model don't generate all the profit. It's the golf tournaments and the pool parties and the special events that get the members together. And so we're looking at some of those opportunities, where somebody would pay a fee and then come down and we have the band and there might be a beer tent, there might not be, there might be food, and those sorts of things. So, but in terms of selling sponsorships, I think was a specific question. It would be good to get some feedback about if you have thoughts on the values around that. So appreciate the question. And we're just putting together the business plan now as Key has moved over into my office, but that's where we're at right now, to answer your question.
Okay, directors, any other thoughts, questions for Mac? Okay. Go ahead.
I just to give feedback, because that's what he asked from us, is I don't have any objection to selling a sponsorship for a facility, as long as the time, staff effort, and cost to fulfill those sponsorships don't outweigh, the revenue that we're getting off of them. I don't have an objection to that at all. I don't have an objection to hosting a festival. We have had some of those ideas come to previous boards that sounded much larger and grander, to be honest, than having a beer festival at a pool. I think, again, the time, evaluating that time and effort that staff are putting into the value that we're getting out of it, and making sure that those dollars and cents that we would be bringing in make a difference is what I would ask you to consider when you're evaluating them.
And
thank you, Jennifer. I think Margaret, I know we would go into this, but this is a conversation if we can have it at the board retreat. Margaret, very quickly, if you want to go ahead, but we don't want to get into a discussion right here about.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with Jen. I think these types of opportunities should at least be brought to the board for consideration. That's all I was going to say.
Brought to the board for sure. I don't think any of us said, do not bring this to the board. We don't want to hear about it. And also one more thing, I just want to clarify when they talk about these signages at like the fields, that's not this board saying no, that's DRB. So in the past, when that has come up, it wasn't us because it has to go through, the signage had to go through DRB or those kinds of questions. But this is a larger conversation we're happy to have, I think, at the retreat in detail with more of us involved. Any other directors, any questions or thoughts?
No.
Okay, thank you. Then we can move into executive session because we swapped our agenda items. And is there a motion to move?
Motion to move into executive session for violation matters, consultation with counsel, personnel matters, and contractual matters.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Brittany, take us away.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the regular March board meeting of the Reston Association. My name is Mac Cummins. I'm the CEO here at RA, and I've got some exciting updates for everyone tonight. This month in March, we have a number of very exciting things coming and some things that are underway currently. I want to spend a little time talking about some of the significant staffing hiring that we are doing down at the Reston Association and when you can expect to see those people here at RA and out in the community. We are currently about to make a job offer to the Director of Environmental Services as well as the Nature House Manager positions. These are two of our most high-profile positions out in the community, helping our children and campers understand the native environment of Reston and helping guide our environmental stewardship initiatives. I hope that both positions will be filled within the next month or so, and we will be making announcements of the selected candidates. Once they are on board, we will make sure and get them out into the community and getting to know everyone. I want to spend a few moments talking about the election, which is currently underway and running through March. Please make sure and take time and send in your ballot and vote for the candidates of your choice. Talking about camp registration, we are 2/3 full of all of our camp registrations at this point and have filled in 32 scholarship slots. I want to mention this because I know our camps are very popular amongst our members, so please fill out your application forms. We can get you all that information at headquarters or online at our website and send in your information. We're going to be opening our community survey on May 1st. I'll mention this month and next month and then again in May as we start to take in really important information from you all, the membership, about what you want for the future of Reston. This will include questions relating to our physical facilities, some of the way we collect assessments, and what the future looks like going forward. We will have QR codes in many places around the community so you can access the community survey, as well as hard copies at some of our facilities. Please make sure and take time in May and early June to fill out the community survey. Lastly, a few upcoming events that you want to take note of and for our board members that may want to attend. We have the annual Reston Arbor Day where we celebrate our native environment and trees in particular on April 15th from 12 to 4 p.m. at Browns Chapel Park in Hunters Woods. And then we have our Founders Day event April 14th from 9:30 to noon at the Lake Ann Plaza. Look for more information on those two really exciting events here in the community. One of the most exciting things that I will be making an announcement on this month is that I have secured an arrangement with the Washington Plaza and Lake Ann Farmers Market to have the Reston Association have a weekly tent that will be present at the event. This will be an exciting opportunity for us to interact with our membership, and we will be located directly under the Reston, a New Town sign that you see on the left photo. A few details about the exciting opportunity for us to be out in the community at the Lake Ann Farmers Market are the following. We're going to place a tent with our RA logo directly under the historical marker plaque that I showed you in the last photo. We're going to staff the tent with our senior leadership team members and members of our recreation department and member services group. Our primary objective in putting a tent at the farmers market is to be more visible in the community. We would like to go to the membership and try to interact with them, talk to them, find out what their thoughts and concerns are around RA, different services that they might be interested in, and give out information. The senior leadership team will be playing a more active role in doing this type of work in the coming months and years. Each week, you can expect to see at least one senior leadership team member and a member of our services staff that can give out the types of information that we believe our members are looking for. We will also have QR codes for the community survey that I mentioned earlier, budget suggestions when that process comes in the midsummer, as well as the opportunity to help get our members to where they need to go regarding past sales, potential merchandise, and opportunities coming in the future. Please stop by the RA tent at the Lake Ann Farmers Market if you have a chance and introduce yourselves to your senior leadership team members. Thank you to everyone for an update this week. I look forward to seeing you out in the community. Remember to enjoy all of the Reston experiences where we celebrate, live, work, and play. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any comments or questions that we can help you with. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura Kowalski, Director of Recreation, Environmental Education, and Member Services with Reston Association. I'm pleased to be here this evening to share information with you on the 2023 pool schedule. There are a variety of factors that go into the development of the pool schedule on an annual basis. First, Reston Association owns and operates 15 outdoor swimming pools. This year, we will be starting off with 13, as Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood pools are currently under renovation, though slated to be opened later this summer. There are 4 districts in Reston, and in each one of those districts, there's a number of pools that we strive to share open opportunities for swim across town. Hunters Woods Dogwood District has 4 pools. South Lakes District has 4. Lake Ann Tall Oaks District has 4. And finally, North Point District houses 3 pools. Then, the seasons are broken out across 5 main categories for each summer. Season 1 is our early season, where we have 2 heated facilities, Ridge Heights and North Shore pools. Then we have Season 2, where we open a few more before Fairfax County schools are out for the summer. This includes Memorial Day weekend. Then Season 3 is when Fairfax County Public Schools is out for summer break, 4 when they go back to school, and then finally another heated extension into September. We look at this pool schedule in seasons, and then we use a combination of member input through our surveys, comments, suggestions, and also our usage data to help us determine what the best bang for our buck is so that we can offer members a variety of swim options, including what is available with our workforce availability. Of hours for the pool schedule. 1 is scheduled open hours for recreation pass holders. Then there are closed days, which we use to accommodate a variety of things: rentals, training for lifeguards and water safety classes, programs to include swim lessons, fitness classes, stand-up paddleboard classes, and more, maintenance, and these hours are not open to the public, are attributed to the revenue goals for programs and rentals, which do directly impact and help to offset the member assessment. The schedule. So we know what our seasons are, we know what our members would like to see, and we know what our staff availability is. So the next thing that we do is we apply all of that into a pool schedule. In this example, this is Ridge Heights Pool for Season 1. So we build the schedule, each time slot for every hour, and apply a number of staff members to that time slot, and that gives us a total number of operating days and staff hours that we need to hire for. Now that we have the pool schedule, we take a look at the retention of our previous staff and also recruitment strategies to attract new employees to Reston Association. We do this in a variety of ways. For our previous summer employees, we keep them engaged throughout the year through something fun that we call the Droplet. It's an electronic newsletter where we provide information to the staff and then also ask for information in return. We give them fun looks and glimpses at the summer, let them know about dates and fun activities that are coming up, certification information, and more. What we receive back from them, very importantly, is their availability to work the upcoming summer, which helps us figure out our goals for hiring staff. The other thing that we receive from them is information how we can do things better. What would they like to get out of the summer? Are there some things that we as an employer can do to help keep them happy with Reston Association? We also have a variety of on-site activities, recruitment opportunities through job fairs, both at the high school and collegiate level, refer a friend fairs in person where our current staff can bring a friend. Also virtually, our online job boards, social media postings, and more. Incentives are applicant gift card raffles, staff appreciation opportunities throughout the summer. And if you look at the bottom bubble, there's a picture of our Lifeguard Olympics, which is a popular event where the lifeguards just get to have fun. We also regularly survey the staff on items and incentives and ways that we can do a good job. Something very important that some people don't know is that we do have scholarship opportunities to help with the expense of certification classes so that it isn't a barrier, so that we can employ as many young people that are qualified as we possibly can. But we don't just employ the young people. If anyone of any age is interested over the age of 15 in working for Reston Association, please reach out. We have a very flexible schedule and work hard to accommodate what schedule may work for you, and you also get a free recreation pass for working with us. This chart shows how many different positions we have and what our retention rate, and also gives us a goal for the current summer for how many employees we anticipate needing based on the pool schedule that has been created. So if you would turn your attention to the row that is highlighted in red, this is our year-to-date staff. So currently we have 101 lifeguard positions, and we would like to hire 175. That's our goal for this summer. It's still early, applications are open, and we hope to meet or exceed that number so that we can provide all of the hours of operation, amenities, and programs to the membership that's been requested. The other opportunities that are listed here for employment include our front desk attendants, our boat operators, our Fairfax County pool operators, leadership positions for the team, maintenance position, and our instructors of swim lessons, lifeguard instructors, and water fitness instructors. So as you can see, we have a big goal of a total of 368 employees this summer. Now let's take a look at the pool schedule for 2023. This slide shows the main changes to the schedule that are different from last year. The requests listed there are the top 3 items that were made by members through emails, surveys, and conversations, followed by the date range and then also the budget impact. The Board of Directors approved additional funding based on the requests from last year, and this is how those dollars are being used. The first request is additional lap swimming hours only at Lake Newport weekdays through September. The second is an expansion of weekday morning and evening fitness hours when school's back in session at both Thoreau and North Shore. Third, daytime weekday hours when school is back in session until Labor Day weekend at Glade, Lake Newport, North Shore, and Ridge Heights. We're pleased to bring these new changes to our members based on their request. Our first season is our earliest season. This is when the heaters are on at both North Shore and Ridge Heights Pool. This schedule has remained the same from previous years for our members to enjoy. The second season is before Fairfax County Schools is let out for the summer break, and it also includes Memorial Day weekend. In addition to the pools that were open last summer, Dogwood Glade, North Shore, and Ridge Heights, There are additional facilities that we're able to bring online. This includes Golf Course Island, Lake Audubon, and North Hills pools for members to enjoy. The third season is our largest season. This is when Fairfax County schools are on break for the summer, and it provides additional opportunities at all of our locations for members to enjoy, as well as it allows for our main workforce the ability to pick up as many hours as possible so that we can serve the community through open hours. New for this year from last year is this season has been extended through the second week in August for a longer season with all of the facilities open. Our fourth season is currently under construction, along with the 2 facilities that are under construction. As soon as we learn more about those 2 facility openings, we will be posting that schedule to the website later this spring. So the biggest piece of this season 4 that has changed from 2022 is that this schedule has been extended through Labor Day by 2 weeks. The pools that we will open during that time will be Lake Newport, North Shore, which will also see that extended lap swim and fitness hours, Glade with extended lap swim and fitness hours, Ridge Heights Pool, and also Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood construction schedules pending. The schedule during the season will be released no later than June 1st when we do have updated information on construction and workforce availability, so please stay tuned. This 5th and final season of our summer includes North Shore and Ridge Heights pools that will be heated. In addition, and in response to member requests, the addition of Lake Newport Pool with added lap swim and fitness hours has also been added. This will round out the season in a way that not many outdoor facilities offer in this area. We hope that this information has given you a look to the summer fun waiting for you in Reston. The beginning of the summer, we will have the schedule release on April 1st, and then once we know a little more about the construction dates for Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood pools, we will release that schedule accordingly and are hoping for no later than June 1st. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We greatly appreciate it and hope to see you this summer at the pool.
Good evening, everyone. This month's Treasurer's Report will focus on the financial results for 2022. I intend to provide you with some context for this year's results, but if you're interested, you may find a deeper discussion of the results in the meeting package that you can find in the Association's Dropbox for the March Board of Directors meeting under Section F. I've also provided a link at the end of this presentation. In addition, it is my intent to publish an annual financial report that will be available at the members' annual meeting scheduled for April 11th from 7 to 9 p.m. In summary, for the year ending December 31st, 2022, the Association's finances remain strong. The net operating margin was $1.7 million better than budget, in equal measures due to stronger revenues and lower operating expenses. Later in the presentation, I will provide some context for these factors. RA spent $3.1 million in capital improvements, repairs, and replacements against budgeted projects totaling $5.8 million. This may not seem like much has happened, but the most expensive projects, Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood pools, conversion of the Hunters Woods ball field, and the Barton Hills tennis facility are multi-year projects at various stages of completion. The Association's cash position remains quite strong, but that is to be expected, as 46% of that total are restricted reserves set aside for capital asset improvements, coupled with the fact that a majority of the Association's revenues are member assessments that are being collected for 2023, beginning in December 2022. Total revenues increased by $872,000 versus the 2022 budget and $1.1 million on a year-over-year basis. Assessments and fees increased by $175,000 due primarily to new residential development members. Recreation programs increased by $285,000 due to better than anticipated camp participants and strong continuing interest in racket sports, particularly pickleball. Central Services Facility increased their portion by $671,000 due primarily to sale of wetlands and stream mitigation credits that had not been budgeted items given the uncertain timing of such sales. Assessment revenues dominate total revenue, which is to be expected for an HOA that manages the number of facilities and the amount of common interest property that the association owns. As mentioned in the previous page, sale of wetlands and stream mitigation credits of $540,000 significantly added to the association's revenue stream, but those sales again have not been budgeted items given the uncertain timing of such sales. Expenses continued to run under budget by $837,000, but total operating expenses increased by $1.1 million on a year-over-year basis. Versus the budget, the majority of the positive variance is lower people costs than anticipated by $758,000. Given the number of senior staff hires made during 2022 and expected in 2023, this positive variance will likely be eliminated in this year. On a year-over-year basis, the $1.1 million increase in expenses was driven by an increase of $239,000 in people costs due to additional seasonal help and merit increases awarded staff, an increase of $362,000 in a variety of outside professional services, including retention of a virtual chief information officer and the cost of the CEO search, an increase of $133,000 in insurance premiums. RE is quite complex from an insurable risk standpoint. Of particular note is the cost of insuring the 4 dams from the perspective of property damage and potential liability from a breach of 1 or more dams to downstream properties. And finally, an increase of $397,000 in other expenses. This slide speaks for itself. It is to be expected given the responsibilities which the association has. Grass can't be cut remotely, at least not yet. And lifeguards and camp counselors have to be physically present to do their jobs. This again is pretty self-evident. But please keep in mind the extent of what RE is responsible for. The 1,300 acres of land and over 375 legal parcels, the 4 lakes, 3 ponds, and 4 dams, the 55 miles of paved pathways and 8 miles of natural service trails, the 15 outdoor pools, the 15 outdoor tennis courts, the 30 multipurpose courts, the 72-acre Walker Nature Center, the 16 picnic pavilions and arbors, the 35 top lots, the 21 ball fields, and the 3 community buildings, the Lake House, Brown's Chapel, and the headquarters. At the beginning of 2022, RA had a total of restricted cash and investments of $6.3 million, $5.7 million in RRF funds, and $600,000 in CARF funds. These restricted funds, only available to replace, repair, renovate, or purchase capital assets, were available to complete $6.4 million in capital projects. The detail by category can be found on page 7 of this report. During 2022, a total of $3.1 million was spent, with an estimated addition of $3.1 million to be spent in 2023 and beyond to complete those budgeted processes based on the cost known at year-end 2022. At year-end 2022, RE has a total of $6.25 million in RRF and CAR funds available to complete the budgeted projects, as well as to provide for the completion of new projects to be approved in future years. In accordance with Resolution 4, RE has developed a metric to assess the adequacy of RRF cash and investments based upon a 10-year moving average of expected capital improvements plus a 10% contingency allowance. Based upon the latest reserve study required by state statute that is updated continually by staff, RE should have a minimum RRF balance of $3.81 million at year-end 2022. The actual RRF balance at December 31st, 2022 stands at $5.695 million. The highlighted portion of this graph just shows just how expensive pool maintenance, including repairs and renovations, is. On the following page, I've included 3 examples. One is the chip out of the Glade pool that will be completed by the start of the swim season. The second is a recent photo of the progress made on the Lake Thoreau pool, and the last is the Barton Hill tennis facility, which we expect to start this year. In the upper left is a recent aerial photo of the Glade pool chip out. In the lower photo is the existing Barton Hill tennis facility, and in the upper right is an aerial photo of the Lake Thoreau pool construction. That's all I have to report this evening. If you want any further details, please use the link above to access my written report or reach out to me at bodpetrine@reston.org. That is bodpetrine@reston.org. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Hello, and thanks for listening into this month's update on land use matters and the Reston Comprehensive Plan. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we'll talk about the Reston Comprehensive Plan, a process that has been going on for over 2 years. We expect the county staff report on March 24th. I'm sure that quite a few in the community are excited to see that. The Planning Commission work session will be held on March 30th at 7:30 at the County Government Center, and thereafter a possible Board of Supervisors Land Use Committee sometime near the end of April. And in early May, a new draft plan based upon the input from those sessions is anticipated. Right now, the Planning Commission public hearing is tentatively scheduled for June, and the Board of Supervisors public hearing in July. Some of these later dates are subject to change depending on the community feedback and staff feedback that the county receives as the staff report and the next draft of the plan come forward. And the link here takes you to the Reston area study that has lots and lots of information about this process. The site-specific plan amendment process has also been going on for quite some time, and the upcoming important aspects there that the Hunter Mill and Providence supervisor districts markup of the comprehensive plan amendment work program will be happening March 23rd, same night as the Reston Association March board meeting when you may be listening to this. That will be taking place at the County Government Center, and then currently scheduled as a Board of Supervisors work program meeting on April 11th. Important to note that all Reston area nominations are considered Tier 3 due to the ongoing comprehensive plan study, and that none of the deep dive, if you will, into the review of those nominations will happen until after the Reston comprehensive plan is adopted. And so we'll try to keep the community up to date on all those next steps and the dates according to those various pieces. And the link here takes you to the site-specific plan amendment process for review of a considerable amount of materials. Here's a list of the nominations. Not going to go through these. Many of you have seen these before. And if you go to the link on the prior slide, you can see the one-page staff summaries that were developed by the county earlier in the process. Here's an updated map also from Fairfax County showing the Reston area nominations. You'll note that the tan area here is the transit station areas within Reston. So most of the nominations are indeed in the TSA, and there are a couple just outside to the east near Hunter Mill and Sunset Hills Road and Crowell Road in that area. Another item that's ongoing is the Reston Town Center North Task Force. They've had 2 meetings thus far. I'm not going to go into much detail here, other than to remind the community that memorandum of understanding signed by Reston Association and Fairfax County requires that there be a minimum of 10 acres of open space at the end of that entire development process, which will take many, many years. And any shortfall below that 10 acres will be compensation provided to the Friends of Reston for community projects. Reston Association's 501c3 organization. And also remind folks that the Town Center North is subject to the RA covenants, and the next task force meeting will be held on March 29th at 7 p.m. at the North County Government Center. One other thing I'd like to mention is the ongoing Lake Ann Economic Visioning Study. Many of you perhaps participated in a public survey that was open through March 10th. This process is, I think, the consultant StreetSense hired by Fairfax County to conduct this work, hoping to be completed by June. And there's a timeline on the next slide that I'll land on for just a little bit so you can look at that. And the survey was really to get input on people's perceptions of Lake Ann, why they go there, what their preference might be for future visits, a number of things. And one of the key questions that the Reston Association has is what role can and should RA play in this process as it moves forward, and then even after the StreetSense work is completed. A shot at the timeline. Again, March 10th was the closing date for that public survey, and we look forward to the results and the aggregation of those survey results, and then getting into the workshops coming up in May, and then hopefully finalizing that process in June. So that's it for this month. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email landuse@reston.org, and we'll try to get those answered for you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Shoemaker, Director of Capital Projects. I'm here to give you a brief update on first quarter capital projects for 2023. Again, for 2023 is the update to the Capital Projects webpage. Here you can find an interactive Google map showing all the active, scheduled, and completed projects for 2023. In addition to the smaller projects, we have individual project pages for our major projects, including Barton Hill, Hunters Woods Ball Field, Lake Throw Pool, and Shadowwood Pool. Up are some first quarter project highlights. These include the Phase 1 pool projects. They are Autumnwood filtration and shower tile, which is currently in progress. You can see that in the right image. Lighting upgrades at Hunters Woods, Autumnwood, and North Shore pools. You can see that in the bottom right and top left images. Spray feature installation at Dogwood Pool in the bottom left image, and bathroom vanities at Uplands Pool. Some additional project highlights are at Glade Pool, where we have several projects underway. They include the full chip-out tile and recoping of the main pool and the spa, upgraded spa jets, concrete deck repairs to the main pool area, a new filtration system for the wading pool, a new motor for the main pool system, and new patron and staff lockers inside the bathhouse. Some other project highlights include footbridge installations. Bridge number 24 by Dogwood Elementary is now complete. Bridge number 40 is pending its installation following a pier design modification due to some poor subsoils that were discovered. We also have 2 additional bridges starting the engineering phase. Number 60 and 64 located along the Turquoise Trail and Soapstone Drive. We hope to have those bridges beginning their installation sometime later this year and into next year. Projects to look forward to in the second quarter include the Hickory Pond dredging project and the Newbridge Tennis recoloring. Hickory Pond will have approximately 500 cubic yards of sediment removed and transported to a disposal site in Loudoun County. This will help alleviate the accumulation of sediment in that pond and prevent it from traveling downstream into Lake Ann Canal. Newbridge Tennis will have color coding and crack repairs performed, as well as some surface corrections to address some blistering that were discovered earlier this year. Now for some updates on major projects, starting with Barton Hill Tennis. Following board direction late last year to remove lighting from the scope of work, we are now prepared to host a community information session on the project that is scheduled for March 22nd. Following that meeting, the DRB application will be drafted for review, and then following that process, we will request key decision point number 1 approval by the board of directors, which will allow us to move into the design, architecture, and engineering phase of the project lifecycle that you can see above. The next major project update is at Hook Road Park, where the site plan application has been filed with Fairfax County with first round comments received, addressed, and resubmitted for processing. In addition, the permit fees are being processed for payment, and once we have approval, we'll be preparing for DRB review of the final concept plan for the park. At that stage, we'll be requesting key decision point number 2 approval from the board to move into the estimation procurement phase of the project lifecycle. The next major project is Shadowwood Pool. In order to have the facility reopened during this swim season, we'll be splitting the project into 2 phases. Currently, the engineering team is drafting and filing construction documents for the first phase of the project that will include ADA modifications, chip out tile and recoping, and squaring of the main pool, and we'll have these completed by midsummer of 2023. In the off-season, we'll be performing the other work that includes a spray park conversion of the wading pool and main pool heating. These elements will be performed during the winter and be online in time for the 2024 swim season. Another major project update is the Hunters Woods ball field redevelopment. We have finally obtained site plan approval from Fairfax County, and the RFP for construction has been released to prospective contractors. Once we have these bids received and reviewed, we will then process for contracts and obtain board decision on KDP number 3 before we are ready to move into the implementation and construction phase of the project lifecycle. The last major project update is Lake Throw Pool. This project is currently at 50% physical completion. However, we are forecasting a 4-week delay due to site conditions. The pool basin, retaining wall, and propane tank are all complete, and we're preparing for the structural steel decking that will form the overlook area. We'll also be installing the storm drain system and backfilling the parking lot area. We have also encountered an issue at the sanitary sewer connection at the bathhouse, which currently has that phase of the project on hold. We still hope to have an opening sometime in late summer of this year, but we'll be sure to give you updates if we believe that we will not be able to make that target. And now a quick update on the capital budget for the first quarter of 2023. Of the $7.4 million approved budget, just over $700,000 has been spent, with another $6.5 million estimated to complete. We are currently forecasting a positive variance of $226,000. However, several major projects are not yet underway, including Shadowwood Pool, Barton Hill and Glade Tennis, and Hunters Woods Ball Field. If you have any questions, comments, or need more info, please contact us at capitalprojects@reston.org, leave us a message at 703-435-6556, or visit the Capitol webpage at reston.org. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Larry Butler, and I would like to encourage you to vote in the upcoming RA Board election. The board is responsible for determining the association's goals and policies and needs your votes in order to represent the wishes of our community. This spring, association members will elect 5 individuals to its board of directors, 3 at large, 1 from Hunters Woods Dogwood District, and 1 for the apartment owner's representative. Here are the at-large candidates for a 3-year term.
I'm John Farrell. As a longtime Restonian, I've raised 4 kids here, actively served on the Parks and Recreation Committee, and for the last 8 months have been a member of the RA board. During that time, I've championed restoration of Shadowwood Pool and fought for both golf courses. I'm spearheading our first professional survey to better understand your desires for our open space. Please help me continue this work by voting for John Farrell for the 3-year at-large term. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Margaret Perry, and I am running for the 3-year at-large board seat with Reston Association. I've learned so much in my time with Reston as an over 12-year resident and 7 months appointed RA board member. Reston is a wonderful and diverse community, and I want to work with RA members to help define what the future of Reston Association should look like. I intend to assist RA with meeting the needs of our current members while continuing to maintain and improve our programs and facilities for future generations. Please vote.
Hi, I'm Gene Zepfel, and I'm running for an at-large position on the RA Board of Directors. Having served for 3 years on the RA Covenants Committee, I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to support Reston residents. I've been a business executive in Northern Virginia for over 25 years and have had leadership roles in national and local nonprofit organizations. I want to focus on ensuring the balance between maintaining and enhancing Reston amenities and limiting new development to the TSAs. I look forward to serving Reston.
Here are the at-large candidates for a 2-year term.
Hello, my name is Trevor Grywatch, and I'm running for the 2-year at-large director position. I am a candidate who is committed to preserving our open space, creating greater transparency through our member platforms, and a believer in data-driven decision-making. I bring experience from leadership roles in both small and large businesses, but believe I am uniquely qualified for the position given that I was born in the area and had my childhood shaped by many of the RA programs I aim to support. I appreciate your consideration and would love to hear about your experience.
Hi, my name is Jalal Mapar, and I believe Reston Association should work better for its members. With your vote, I commit to you to use our assessment dollars wisely, make RA influential in shaping our community and its future, and meet RA member needs so all generations can come and enjoy this great place. I've served as a president of a cluster, advocated for neighborhoods on metro development, and volunteered as a Reston soccer coach. I seek your vote to serve you with honor and integrity.
Here are the at-large candidates for a 1-year term.
I'm Michael Brandland. I'm running for an at-large position for the Reston Association Board of Directors to ensure the operating revenue funds of over $20 million are used judiciously and consistent with the demands of the Reston community, while also keeping the annual assessment under $800, protecting Reston's 4 lakes, maintaining the 55 miles of paved paths, improving the recreation facilities, the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, and the ball fields, while preserving the open spaces will be my priority.
Hello, I'm Bob Petrine. I'm running for the 1-year at-large seat to help our new CEO, Matt Cummings, establish RA's capital spending processes and priorities for the coming decade. Please opt in on your election ballot with your current email so that we can communicate with you, our 21,000 RA members, on all important issues. RA needs and desires your ongoing support, and opting in ensures that you will stay informed. Please vote.
Here's the Hunters Woods Dogwood District candidate.
Hi, I'm Travis Johnson. My family and I have been Restonians for just around 14 years. We love it here. I want you to love it here too. As a member of the Reston Association Board, my goals are to work with the RA to help improve the processes used to meet all our needs as members, to help RA use modern tools to communicate with the entire community, and to work with all Restonians to make everyone who lives here feel like a member of the community.
Here's the apartment owner's representative candidate. Ballots will be mailed or emailed on Wednesday, March 1st to all members. Along with the ballot, you will receive a voting guide, introductions to the candidates and their platforms, and important information about the election. If you receive your ballot in the mail, you have a choice of ways to vote. You can complete and return the mailed ballot in the provided envelope, or you can vote online. The unique username and password needed to vote online are included in your ballot package. If you prefer to vote online in future elections, please mark that preference option provided on your ballot. Ballots are due back by 5 p.m. on Friday, March 31st. If you have any questions, please visit reston.org or call 703-435-6530. And thank you for your vote.
Have you seen the latest Reston Association Activities Guide? What's inside? You can find out about everything, including the RA Recreation Pass and all the benefits that come with it. Our pools and aquatics programs, from SUP yoga to safety certifications. Once you pick up the Activities Guide, you won't put it down until you're having some fun. We have tennis and pickleball lessons for all ages, not to mention our drop-in tennis and adult leagues. We also have a wonderful scholarship program. Check inside the Activities Guide to find out more. We have many events throughout the year, including children's events, adult activities, and 55-plus trips and tours. And our senior movie day? Well, that returns later this year. Would you believe we have a community yard sale that fills up an entire parking lot? And it happens twice a year. Learn about that in this Activities Guide. Do you love the wooded areas around Reston as much as we do? Then join us at the Walker Nature Center and explore all the wonderful programs that connect you with our amazing wildlife. We have events here for all ages, from raptors up close to campfire weenie roasts, and even opportunities for scouts. There's something for everyone. Camps! Are you ready for camps? With 17 camp programs, we've got your kids covered this summer. Kids ages 5 all the way up to 16 years old will be experiencing this nearly 50-year tradition. Look inside the Activities Guide to find the best fit for your kids. And if you want to volunteer and give back to your community, check out all the volunteering opportunities we have coming up this spring. Be sure to check out the Reston Association Activities Guide and find out what you're looking for in Reston. You'll be glad you did. This modern, light-filled community space is located on the edge of Lake Newport, a peaceful space that offers many opportunities for celebrations such as graduations, small to mid-sized weddings, outdoor receptions or ceremonies, rehearsal dinners, special events, birthday parties, and business functions and retreats. The Lake House is a beautiful venue in the heart of Reston, just minutes away from Washington, D.C. As you walk into the Lake House, you're greeted by an abundance of natural light streaming in through the open cathedral ceiling and skylight. The entire facility can accommodate 145 guests. Make your special occasion a lasting memory at this beautiful venue here in Reston. The Lake House deck extends over beautiful Lake Newport and is a wonderful spot for cocktails and photos. For more information or to schedule a visit, please contact our reservations team. More information can be found in the description section of this video. We hope to see you celebrating your special day here with us at the Lake House in Reston.
Hi, I'm Chris Shoemaker, Director of Capital Projects at Reston Association. Today we're here at Glade Pool.
As part of this year's renovations, we're doing a plaster chip out tile and coping in the main pool, as well as making some repairs in the spa. We included a new blower line, which will help increase the jet capacities, as well as putting a new tile and coping and replastering of the basin as well. So following this facility's renovation in the early 2000s, we've had a couple different plaster recoatings since then. Now we're at a point where we need to chip out the accumulated plaster to prevent pop-outs of the pool basin over time. So crews have chipped out all the accumulated plaster, and now they're installing a scratch coat, tile, and coping, then prepare for the new plaster to be installed right before we open this year. So this is part of our scheduled maintenance program and occurs about every third plaster, and each plaster is around 7 years. This isn't actually something new. We've been doing this at 6 other facilities over the last few years, and we'll be doing the same at Shadowwood later this season, along with some basin modifications to facilitate better lap swimming. This is a major refurbishment, but we're glad to let you know that we'll be reopened in time for this year's swim season. Another project that's progressing well is the Lake Throw pool renovation, where we've almost reached the halfway point of the project. The retaining walls in the parking lot are completed, and the updates to the bathhouse are beginning, along with the addition coming in the coming weeks. We anticipate the project to be completed sometime around midsummer and ready for reopening. These are just some of the many projects we're doing this year. For more information on this or others, please contact us at capitalprojects@reston.org or visit the Capital webpage at reston.org.
I'm Cam Adams, the Director of Covenants Administration for Reston Association. I'm excited to announce that Reston Association has been working with the Fairfax County Office of Environmental and Energy Coordination on a new community-based engagement program called Charge Up Fairfax. This program aims to assist HOAs with the installation of publicly available shared charging stations, and the program has teamed up with Reston Association to potentially have our communities take part in the pilot program. The program is intended to promote that electric vehicle charging is best done at home and bring solutions to many residents in common interest communities facing challenges to at-home electric vehicle charging if they do not own individual private lots, such as condominium unit owners or non-garage townhomes. A brief overview of the planned program was provided at a meeting held on November 9, 2022 at Reston Association headquarters. The pilot program envisions a three-phase approach to the installation of electric vehicle supply equipment in HOAs, starting with the HOA exploration phase to the engagement phase, and then finally the implementation phase. If funded, the program will provide participating associations with a reimbursement grant of up to 1/3 of the installed cost of the electric vehicle charging station, with a cap of $5,000 per HOA. The program is still in its planning stages, with more details on how HOAs can apply coming sometime this spring. While Charge Up Fairfax is focused on community-wide accessibility of electric vehicle charging stations, it is important to note the Design Review Board and the Reston Association Board of Directors went through a 10-month process in 2021, establishing a new design guideline for electric vehicles for all properties in Reston Association, which made Reston Association one of the first HOAs in the country to establish a design guideline for the entire community. If you're interested in more information on this program, we are happy to share what we know, and you can contact me at cadams@reston.org. If you're interested in installing an EV charging station for your own home, please contact your Covenants advisor at 703-435-6530.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Avery. I'm the Public Art Manager at Public Art Reston, and today we're really excited to install a free little art gallery at the Kathy Hudgens Community Center at Southgate. This is a public art amenity that's free to everyone in the community to use to inspire creativity, to put their art in, to take a piece of art, or just to enjoy looking at it. These are called free little art galleries, or flags. They are now popping up across the United States. In Reston, we already have two, one at Waterview Cluster and one on the south side of Reston near the Turquoise Trail called the Free Little Art Gallery in the Woods. But people tend to refer to them as flags. So this is going to be the flag at the Kathy Hudgens Community Center at Southgate. And we hope that everyone will participate with this little box, just like a free little library where you can put things in and take things out. I wanted to thank Amanda Scarangella, our board member, and her partner John Dean for building this flag with money they received from Random Acts, a nonprofit that gives small grants for doing positive things in the community. Today, Reston Association, our partner in this project, is installing the Free Little Art Gallery. We're so excited to have their help and their assistance in this, and they've been such a big part of this project.
It's wonderful. I'm so thankful for you.
Oh gosh, I'm so thankful we made it happen. Right? And the concept is that you make art to put in, but you're also able to take art out. You don't have to make something if you want to just appreciate what's in there. So this is about anybody being able to exchange their creativity, whether you like to paint rocks, make little sculptures, make a little painting, maybe you do needlepoint. Really, the sky is the limit about what you can put in these. And we've created an Instagram site. It's Free Little Art Gallery _Southgate for this. And so anytime you're here and you want to take a picture and post it, we would love to have the community sharing their photos of this gallery. So we want folks to come and use this Free Little Art Gallery. You can take one or leave one. It's fun. Just put it in or take it out.
Hi, folks. Just to share, some of us are taking a quick bio break, and we will be back at 8:15.
Sarah, as the new person, I'd like to move that we create a playlist that we have going while we're in executive session.
So they do have our videos playing. Sean, you had videos playing, right? So all of our informational videos, and then Sean plays some of our RA Reston Today videos.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Sean?
Yes, we did. We played all the videos.
Nice.
And we kept talking, so. That's the big part of the informational videos, has been helpful to do that. And again, while we're waiting on others, Tony, quick question. I don't see Tony on my screen. The CEO goals, do you need us to make a motion to defer it? That's the next agenda item that we're walking into.
Please.
Okay.
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. So you've got
Bob.
cleansing motion and the deferring.
Yeah.
Yes.
And John, you've got the legal committee.
Right. Bob, can we, just in the event that the next board decides to have a meeting before the regular May meeting, can we just say deferred to the next meeting of the board?
Sure.
So that if the next board wants to have a special meeting to take up this issue before the May regular meeting, they're free to do it.
John,
That works. That works well. Thank you, John.
We do have a meeting on the day following the annual meeting, and that's scheduled.
No, I understand. I'm talking about the possibility of not having a business meeting. I mean, normally that meeting is just election. I'm talking about having a potential for having a business meeting before the May regular meeting.
My concern was the way you phrased it.
Sure.
How would you like to change the language, John?
We could say to defer the matter to the next meeting of the board after the, Tony, what do we call that first meeting? The organizational meeting?
Organizational meeting, yes.
Initial meeting of the board.
Right.
Is that okay, Erwin?
Yes.
That's okay with you,
Bob?
Yep. Hopefully I can remember it all.
Okay, it's 8:17. I think we're just waiting on Mike Collins. Jennifer, I'm assuming you're here and just off camera. I'm assuming, Travis, you've read Laura's comment on the playlist.
Laura, that'll have to be a secondary topic at our meeting tomorrow.
It is past 8:15. Directors Juszczyk and Collins, if you are here.
Director Dodd back also.
I'm here. I've been here. Sorry. I thought you heard me say it the last time. I guess my headset did go off mute.
Yeah, you were
in here.
Thank you. And Lori, we're waiting on Lori and Mike Collins.
Lori's here. She's just muted.
And I just think she stepped away for the bio break. And same with Mike. Okay, maybe we can start and the two of them can join us. At least we can go through the cleansing motion.
Sure. The Board of Directors certifies to the best of each present member's knowledge that only those matters appropriate for executive session of a personnel, legal, or contractual nature were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Tony, that's 7 of us. Okay. Do we want to give them a few more minutes before we go into the others? Bob, you're okay waiting till 8:20, just one more minute and see.
Sure.
Okay. Mike and Lori, if you're here, please let us know. Mike, are you back?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep,
Thank you. Thank you. We're just waiting on Lori to be back, and then we can do the
I
other
think Mike
motion.
was voting on the cleansing motion. He voted aye.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, it's 8:20. Bob, how about we start and hopefully she'll
Okay.
join. Wait.
I move
Thank
that
you.
we defer item G, CEO goals, until the next meeting of the Board of Directors after the organizational meeting on April 11th,
April 12th.
12th, excuse me. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mike, are you? I got it. Lori, are you here? Are you an aye?
I have just entered the room. I don't know what's being voted on.
So
Okay,
Bob,
I'll repeat the motion.
yes, please.
Um,
Thank you, Bob.
I move that we defer item G, CEO goals, until the next meeting of the Board of Directors subsequent to April 11th.
Well,
12.
Well, I did it again. The April 12th organizational meeting.
Okay, yes,
And
I'm in favor.
Jennifer was the second, and that's unanimous. Perfect. Thank you. John, your emotions?
Madam President, I move that the board ratify the actions of the March 1 Legal Committee.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Perfect. That's unanimous too. Fantastic. We've got the contract motions. I have the contract motions. Where? Tony, if you have it in front of you, if you could help me, that would be great. Bob, do you have it?
Give me
I
one
do
second.
not.
No, I haven't. Sorry.
Court's indulgence.
In the meantime, does Laurie want to vote on the cleansing motion?
Oh,
Can
of
she?
course, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Laurie.
I believe I heard Director D'Souza move that in accordance with the association's policies on purchasing and procurement to approve the contract with Total Development Solutions LLC for Hunter Woods and CSF culvert and paving projects in the not to exceed amount of $139,010.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And then I believe
Mike?
I heard a second motion that moved that in accordance with the association's policies on purchasing and procurement to approve the contract with Rappahannock Petroleum LLC for CSF fuel pump and storage tank replacement in the not to exceed amount of $148,804.50.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mike, you're an aye. Okay. Perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
Tony.
Hey, everybody.
Mike?
I'm
Mike
getting
froze.
my hand is going up. My hand is going up really, really slowly tonight. I'm having this severe lag going on. So sorry if it seems like I'm not paying attention. I mostly am.
No, you're good. Thank you. Okay, folks, are we ready to go on to agenda item H? Board and Association Operations Resolution 5, Board Staff Relationship and RA Bylaws, and Jennifer will be presenting that. And we
Madam
are,
Chair,
Yes,
was there a
Tony?
motion to defer the CEO goals? I did not hear it.
yes, that was Bob, and we all voted.
I apologize.
Now, when you get those 5 extra attorneys, that will be, they'll help you remember. No. We're good. We voted on that, Tony. Thank you. All right, Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, Resolution 5 and the applicable bylaw, the BGC met for several months and talked about a change to the resolution related to general counsel and special counsel. In your packet, there is a summary of some additions that were added after the Board Operations Committee sent it back to BGC. At the last BGC meeting, there were 2 additional changes made related to the role of treasurer and also the secretary and board liaison roles. Hopefully you've all reviewed the line edits that were provided in the packet. I'm sure BGC members are happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And to get the discussion started, I would move to strike the new language in Resolution 5 related to the treasurer, secretary, and board liaison, and refer Resolution 5 and the related bylaw back to BGC to address feedback provided by the board during this discussion as it relates to the general counsel and special counsel pieces of that resolution.
Second.
Madam President, may I inquire of the maker of the motion? You also, I think, in your motion want to send the bylaw amendment back to BGC, I would think, since the 2 pieces go together. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, sorry, I missed that piece, but yes, the resolution and the bylaw go together in this case.
And that motion's been seconded?
Yes.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? If not, we can vote on it. Any reasoning? Did anybody have any question from BGC? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. That was quick. Thank you. Is that it, Jennifer? Are you okay if I move to agenda item I? Okay. Okay, AED accessibility update. I think Mac has an update for the board.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, we put some information in your packet. We've reached out to a number of different entities to solicit some input and feedback about where AEDs currently are located and if they're interested in having AEDs on site. The general consensus amongst the sports groups that we reached out to are that they have some concerns about that and having them out there. And I'll turn it over to Larry for maybe some more specifics on that, but you see a list of all the people that we reached out to.
Yeah, I'll just add that, so Mike McNamara, who is in contact with the groups that use our fields, and you may recall, we have a board policy that we only contract our field use to Reston-based organizations. So that's, Reston Great Falls Soccer, Reston Herndon Little League, and so forth. And they expressed very little interest in it. Again, I'm reporting, basically what Mike Mack, I would call him Mac, sorry, reported back to us. And the one field where we'll call it Reston Baseball, or Reston Herndon Little League does have one is at Crabtree, which is not an RA field. That's the one that Bryce Harper did over there by, I think it's Crossfield Elementary down off Fox Mill Road. So we don't have a whole lot more information. I know John, or you may have some additional questions, but they did not seem terribly interested in doing that, in part because of the liability piece, as well as where they're stored and those kinds of things, because most of the fields, they have field boxes, but those are not the most secure places to keep something like that.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the agenda item. Is that erroneous? Because the agenda item says baseball interested in AED devices and has purchased one. And that's consistent with my conversation with Tim Jones, who's the head of Little League. So I'm confused.
So they're interested, but we're not ready to make any kind of commitment with respect to our fields, John.
That's different from what I understood in my conversation with Tim Jones.
Larry, could you be a bit more specific on what you mean by any kind of commitment?
Well, they're not prepared to go out and purchase them, and they have concerns about how they're going to be maintained, stored, used, frankly. So John, maybe you want to report, since you probably had a similar conversation that Mike Mack had with Tim Jones, so you may want to report out on that.
I think that let me back up. All of us, or most of us, Mike wasn't there, experienced a situation within the last week where the absence of an AED may have resulted in somebody being more seriously damaged than they might otherwise have been. I seem to recall that there was a phone call to a rescue person, and one of the questions they asked us was, did we have an AED at Nature House? And sadly, we didn't. I think this matter deserves more attention, because not only for the 12-year-old who might die on one of our fields, but for the grandparent who might have a heart attack while observing their child on one of our fields. The liability issue that I see in the agenda is specious. It's covered by the Good Samaritan law, which our council can address to us. It's clear to me that there's some members of the staff who don't want to do this. I'm sorry that they feel that way, but I think we need to explore this a lot more, because the last thing I want to do is be in a situation like we were last Thursday night, where someone needed an AED and we didn't have one. So I'm disappointed with the way the matter was presented tonight. And I just don't understand.
Thank you, John. I think Travis has his hands up. Go ahead, Travis.
Thanks. I'm speaking to stand with Director Farrell. I do think this is seems to have been dismissed rather quickly. I wasn't there for the incident last week. I was at the NIT committee meeting, but I did hear about it, and it was alarming. It was alarming not only for the individual who is affected and their family, but personally, I and one of my children have a congenital heart issue, and should we participate at an RA facility, knowing that the AEDs aren't there, that means that if something should happen, our lives are at risk. And I don't want that to happen, personally, obviously, and I don't want that to happen to a member of our community. I don't want anyone to. I want to reduce the risk to members of our community, and I think we need to take this subject very seriously.
Thank you, Travis. And Bob, you had your hand up. Did you still have comments?
I think at a minimum, we should seriously look into providing a secure space at all of our facilities for an AED. I don't think anybody really questions the money that's involved when you're talking about saving a life. The problem, I think, is one of practicality. I'm surprised that there wasn't one at the Nature Center. I would be surprised that we don't have it at all of our enclosed facilities. And if we can come up with a means of not exposing the device to mischief, all for it, irrespective of the cost. We'll figure out the cost. But we certainly have them at facilities that have staff that are trained in their use. So we should be serious about exploring expansion.
If that's a motion, Mr. Katrine, I'll second it.
Could I make a suggestion, please? could we have, Mac has his hand up. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to kind of come back to the question of intent, and if I misunderstood the exercise for tonight, John, I'm certainly sorry. We were, I thought, asked to check in with certain organizations to see what their thoughts were and identify potential implications and what it would take. And we're back tonight to talk about, do you want to advance and let's go price these things out. And so if there was an intent to have that tonight, I'm sorry I missed that or didn't get it. There is certainly no intent. I mean, this is a major safety issue. If the will of the board is to, for example, if your whole will is along the lines of what Bob just said, cost, we need to understand that because it's really important in every life. We will absolutely go do that. So most of the organizations we talked to had either not considered it, or don't do it like at the county ball fields. But I don't want to misunderstand the value judgment here. So I'm sorry if we missed an assignment, but we'll get right on it.
I think you were right on the assignment. I think we asked you to have those initial conversations, and then here we are now to talk about where we want to go from here. But I think Bob was making a motion and John was trying to second it, and I didn't want to get in the middle of that. But Bob, Jennifer, you have something to say before Bob makes his motion, or can it wait till after his motion?
Well, it wasn't really in the form of a motion, so I was kind of just writing down. So I'm happy to offer
You want to make the motion? Go ahead.
somewhat written motion.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Motion to direct our CEO to research viable solutions to provide AED devices at all RA outdoor facilities and purchase AED devices for all of our indoor facilities.
I'm prepared. Can I ask the maker of the motion, could you add to that to reach out to the Friends of Reston for support? Because I know they already have offered it.
Sure, and reach out to the Friends of Reston for funding.
Correct.
So
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, could I also add that we discussed training for staff at where possible. I know at all outdoor facilities, it's not always possible to have staff present, but where it's indoor, if we can have staff trained to use them, include that in this study.
I don't object from. I would prefer not to add that to the motion, but I would need a discussion in order to tell you why. And
We
I
are in
don't.
discussion. You have multiple seconds.
Okay.
So
You had seconds.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. My understanding from most AED devices at this stage of the game is that training or instruction is given when you turn the device on, and it gives you a step-by-step, do this, now do this, now do this.
It does.
So I don't know that we need instruction for staff to use these devices.
And keeping in mind every funding, I mean.
Margaret, Erwin had his hand up. Give me one
Sorry.
second. Yes, Erwin, go ahead.
I think some instruction is necessary because there has to be a decision made as to whether or not to use it. And you have to know when you're going to use it, and if the misapplication of it could be problematic.
The Erwin, the newer devices actually tell you if they're not having a heart attack, so they don't need to. But I do agree on both your points about having some discussion. That said, I know Lori has her hand up. Some instruction. Lori has her hand up. Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, I just wanted to agree with Jen that my daughter's a nurse, just recently certified, and these AEDs walk you through the entire process, including whether or not the AED is needed. So it is maybe calling it an AED, maybe we need a better term for it now, because it does walk you through the entire process, including whether or not there's no intervention needed.
Can Travis, make a suggestion?
Please.
Could we vote on this Jennifer's motion and then as a separate motion, ask for the training? You can make that motion, so it goes? Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Just trying to keep us on the timeline. That's it. Okay. Any other questions on Jennifer's motion? If not, are we ready to vote on it? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Travis, your motion.
I move that staff, in addition to the activities that staff has just been tasked with, that they also research what instruction is necessary to properly use any acquired AED.
I will second that motion for discussion. And if I could just, you second, thank you, Erwin. Mike, I think we're all clear, yes, it comes with instructions, but in that moment, as many of us were there on Thursday night, it is very nerve-wracking. It couldn't hurt to have like a briefing session for staff, or at least just share a video with them to say, hey, this is there, it'll walk you through, but just watch a video. So we're hoping you'll never have to use it, but if you have to, here's it. At least provide it as a resource to staff. Mike, you were saying something? Go ahead, Mike.
I guess I'm not against this, but we have these at pools and we tell the kids what to do with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It just doesn't seem like we need a motion about it, but I'll vote for it.
Thank you.
So, Madam
Can I
President,
call the vote? Yes, John.
just quickly, the Red Cross will give you a 15-minute or 20-minute or a half hour. I mean, the resources are there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I would encourage the staff to reach out to the local Red Cross to make that course available.
Are we good to vote on Larry? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question. This goes back actually to the prior motion, but I'm taking a bunch of notes down here. The prior motion had, it was very general RA facilities, and I guess I want a little bit of clarification. I know clearly, the interest in ball fields that are scheduled with our youth groups, but we have pavilions, and
right.
I'm really thinking about pavilions and things where other gatherings are where we rent, for instance. So I guess I'm just, because when we put together and bring back to the board a report with respect to, how to secure them and so forth, and we'll want to bring back obviously the dollars attached with that. I just want to know if you have any description of the facilities you do or do not want included in that, because we have a bunch of facilities.
Larry, do you have, well, I guess Jennifer, go ahead. But I was going to ask if staff had suggestions on what they didn't want to include. Go ahead.
I'm fine with that, Sarah.
Larry, did you have any that would fall into the do not include list versus us going through with the board of which ones we want? Is there any you want to take out as staff?
No, I'm not necessarily looking to take any out, but when you think about all of our rec areas where we have a picnic pavilion or a basketball court, a tennis court, we have probably, I'll just pick a 55 different locations where people gather for various things, whether rented or not. And so I'm just trying to kind of create a little bit of scope for what we bring back to you. Or we can bring it all back and then let you go from there, which I'm happy to do as well.
I would like that, but Bob has his hand up. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I was going to suggest that bring back everything and then we can scope it down depending on usage. But you could have them for all the top odds too, and that would be. Again, it's kind of like once we start down this path, we really have to think about how we're going to do this beyond just the practicality of having one at every location.
Okay, we'll put together a comprehensive list and you all can review that.
And maybe talk with the Red Cross or whomever for suggestions.
Thank you, Bob. And Tony could add, this is just me throwing it out there. If we said all RA facilities, do our pathways fall under that? And then an expectation we're setting up for our pathways? And I'm not the lawyer here. There are plenty of lawyers in the room. I will let all of you figure that out. That was just the first thing that came to my mind, that if somebody did have a need on one of our pathways, then have we set that up? So Lori has her hand up, and then I think Erwin. Go ahead, Erwin.
I would like to suggest that this be narrowed to apply only to ball fields, and that we also look into whether or not what the cost would be if we had them for all of our courts, whether it's tennis, pickleball, multipurpose court. but I don't want to have it at tot lots or at any of our trails and so I want to focus it in on ball fields and courts.
Yes, Erwin, go ahead.
I think it's necessary to consider on each of these locations the adequacy of the storage facilities.
Right.
And so that should be part of the report. And if they are not adequate, what would be necessary to provide such adequate facilities?
Thank you, Erwin. Mac and Larry, do you have your work cut out for you? Do you have any other questions for us? And for the board, how much of a priority is this for the board as far as staff time? When do we want them to bring it back? Do we want to give them all of those answers as well? Mac and Larry, any questions?
Dean, I think, and I might look to Larry, I mean, just from a timing standpoint, I think hearing the relative level of importance from the board, and I do think, Sarah, to your question, you should all affirm that. Getting those things costed out, I don't imagine is that difficult for all the reasons you're talking about now. And we do already have Red Cross people on staff that are capable of doing some of the training simply because of our aquatics facilities and things. So, I mean, putting together the program and trying to bring something back, especially because the next regular meeting, assuming there's no special meeting called, will not be till May. I would assume we could probably do that. I mean, just plan on that because it's the very next meeting from now. I'll look to Larry if there's some variable I haven't thought of, but I think that would be accomplishable, and it is your next meeting.
I agree with that.
Okay, all good with that, board? Yes, everybody, perfect. Okay.
You didn't
vote
Travis.
on Travis's. Yeah, we need to vote on Travis's motion. Okay, if there's no other discussion on Travis's motion, all in favor?
Sure.
Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 yeses and 2 noes. 2 noes or abstentions? Is there an abstention? Any abstentions?
Yeah, call for the vote.
Any noes?
Noes.
2 noes. Got it. Okay, 7 yeses and 2 noes. Okay, we're moving on to our next agenda item if we're good with this. Item J is Mac again with the budget calendar.
Thanks, Sarah. So you have in your draft or in your packet a draft budget calendar kicking off here in the early summer and running through the fall. I think you will notice that it generally follows the same outline as in years past, but there are a couple of things that are added. And one of the reasons for that, and I know Bob would like to speak to you all too, is the fiscal committee and Bob as the treasurer have made some suggestions about some intermediary steps, which I think are important of note because I'm doing the same thing with the staff to set up checklists and milestones and a way of tracking deliverables for each of the checkpoints and key decision meetings so that we can hopefully be as organized and deliberate in starting at the very wide budget idea standpoint and then working all the way down to the final budget adoption. And as I mentioned in my CEO update, we're looking to get out there in the community for budget ideas. So starting at a big picture level, working with the board on your highest priorities, and then working in with the fiscal committee and all the other input functions into your actual draft budget. So even though it looks like it follows a very similar path, I think there's been a lot of refinement done and some ideas on how to make sure we're communicating each step of the way, what's been done and what's coming next, and then being deliberate about the deliverables for each one. So I'll just stop there. And I know Bob would like to offer some of the fiscal committee thoughts and then happy to talk with you all about the general process.
Thank you, Mac. And
Okay,
everyone's got Bob's email that came out this afternoon.
I apologize for late delivery. But I think you'll find that this proposed calendar dovetails with the staff's calendar pretty well. One of the additional suggestions that fiscal has made is to, on the first draft of the budget, approach the budget from a zero-based budget which means the idea is to hold everything in place at its service levels at their present level, and to hold the assessment at its present level, and then work back. I think this will be a way to look at how services are produced, those elements that will have to be increased, and impose a bit more discipline on everybody in the process to look at the budget from the standpoint of at a starting point of holding to cost, as opposed to as has happened in a couple past years where directors have asked for such a budget to be put together in October or November, which is almost impossible to do, is kind of decompose the entire budget to get back to a starting point. And I see Dave Kerr is on tonight's session. If there are any specific questions, this is unfair because I brought it to you very late in the game, and this is proposed. So it is my intent that this be worked on with staff to make sure it integrates in with staff's proposal on the approach to budget for this coming biennial period.
And you don't need a vote on the fiscal draft budget. We just need to vote on Mac's budget calendar, Bob. So
right,
that's true.
Right.
Okay. Directors, any questions on the budget calendar?
Move it.
Is there a second? Margaret, second. Multiple seconds. Okay, any questions for discussion? Okay, Jennifer, go ahead.
I had an edit I'd like to make to the July 19th date. In the July 10th one, it says CEO provides new initiatives, discontinued programs and services. But on the July 19th, it just says new initiatives. And I think it should say program and services, new initiatives, programs and services. I would also love to see a date added to the calendar to marry what we're going to do with the member survey into the budget process, because I think that that's a special initiative that we have going this year, and it could use a touch point on the budget side of those results as part of our budget process. And lastly, I think that we're going to need to do facility capital improvement projects, have multiple touches during this particular budget process, because we need to plan for what facilities are going to be in the next 2 years. Then we need to look at the, look at the facility changes they might suggest, then look at the fiscal piece, then bring it to the board. And I think that the June date, or no, it's this August date that's on the calendar is really too late to start that process. But I don't want to miss out the opportunity to take what we might come up with in the summer and add in the feedback that we're getting from members to maybe even make changes to it. So I'd like to recognize that there's a 2 touch point capital improvement projects during this particular budget season somehow in the calendar.
Any other directors? Yes, Larry, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that the August work session might be a good time, since we have the board and fiscal committee there, to review the initial, preliminary or initial results of the survey, because I think those are due at the end of July. So from a timing standpoint, that gives everybody a couple of weeks to kind of digest those and perhaps bring forward some of the key elements from that, at least from the preliminary piece from the survey. So would that work for you, Jennifer, if we incorporate, initial survey review at that meeting?
Yeah, that would definitely work for the second touch point. I'd love to see the board really engage on capital improvement projects like May, June-ish, like have an initial discussion then and then do it again in August when we have the feedback. I think it takes that long really for when we're spending significant dollars to have multiple touch points.
Yes, Bob, go ahead, Bob.
Since we already have, Chris has already prepared a capital improvements plan for the next 5 years. I think I agree with Jennifer, and I think that we could probably have at least initial discussion so that board members had time to think about it. And in the mid-June, I don't think wouldn't be that early, because we've established at least the major projects that are intended to be started during the next 2 years now. And we can certainly develop a sense of timing and cost from
So at the June
the detail that already exists.
Bob, are you thinking the June 22nd when the CEO provides update? Or are you thinking earlier?
I think that it probably would entail 2 discussions, one at fiscal, and then followed up the next day with the results at the board meeting.
Mac, sorry, I didn't see who went first. So I have Travis and Mac. Travis, you okay with hearing from
Mac's
Mac first?
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, thanks. I think, and I'm sort of looking down at the schedule and sort of looking at all the line items. I think one of my observations from last year, and I landed in the middle of the budget process, was thinking about and mixing O&M dollars and budgeting around core services and maintenance and capital kind of all in the same bushel gets very confusing for a number of people involved. So I like the board's idea here. And what I'm wondering is if the idea is how early can we build it mechanically well into the process rather than picking a date tonight. If you're all thinking May or June, how about I take a closer look at this and maybe understand a little more about what the fiscal committee's thinking, or we have some of the dates around look at variables in the budget. You know, for example, that's happening the first week of June. Would we want to talk about prioritization of capital or new ideas for capital before or after that, for example? I could come back to you with a date if you just wanted to give us direction to create the second touch point that Jennifer's suggesting and build it into the calendar and just let you know when that's going to happen, if that works for you.
I'm okay with that if the rest are. And Travis, you had your hand up.
Did. I wanted to ask about the June 2nd date. Board determines which suggestions to send to committees to further explore. Can we expand on that a little bit? What does, what's that going to entail?
So what we did last year, Larry, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. Yeah, so after the community suggestions come in, we compile them, we put them into a list, we get them in front of the fiscal committee and the board. And we do a real initial vetting of those. Some of the suggestions that come in are not, they're not in RA's wheelhouse. There might be a Fairfax County thing. So we trim the list down to, frankly, what does RA have responsibility for? And so again, we just do an initial scoping, and then what we do, we get that to the board, and the board determines which ones they want to send to our advisory committees. So if there's a transportation or pathway related thing, they may send that to MTAC. There's an environmental initiative, send that to EAC, for example. So it's really the board saying, hey, these rise to the top of our priority, and we want, in addition, not only the staff to look at them in further detail, but also our advisory committees. That's essentially what it is.
So is that a working session, or is that a deadline for the board to get something delivered?
Go ahead, Larry. You want me to talk?
Yes, I do. But I'd like to state that last year, what was really helpful is that the board, amongst themselves, you all came up with a priority I like to call it the green and yellow spreadsheet, which was actually a very handy thing to have. And it really, gave the staff as well as the committees, here are the priority items that we need to focus on, for most likely inclusion into the budget discussion and process. So you can add on to that, but that was very helpful.
Okay, so we had a spreadsheet that goes out among the board members, and Bob helped us fill in with the suggestions sort of on topic areas. And all of us, it's again like a straw poll. So every director said yes, no, maybe, or yes, no, later. And then we were able to pull from that and only take the green list, as Larry is saying, were the ones that had super majority of the board saying, yes, look at it. And then the yellow list was where we had a board majority. And then if we did not have a board majority, that kind of fell to the bottom of the list.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
and we didn't need a board meeting. We were able to do it on our own time, but we had a date by when we had to send it to staff, and I don't have that date on. Larry, do you remember what was kind of the deadline when we?
I think it was a Friday, July 8th, or something close.
So we had it.
Yes.
Right. So they had enough time to look at it and come to the meeting with concrete answers.
Okay. Thank you.
And I can send you, or maybe Larry can send you last year's version, so you kind of get an idea about what we're talking about.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Thank you, Larry. So Mac, if I understand you correctly, you don't need a motion tonight. You're saying you're going to take our feedback, incorporate it in, and come back?
To solve the where to put the second touch point, I can do that. I mean, procedurally, do you all take a vote to approve the budget calendar?
We're kind of in the middle of the calendar anyways, so.
I thought it was going to be the motion with an amendment to have Mac look at adding that second touch point, but that we were voting on the calendar currently.
I think that would be the cleanest way to do it. So now you've got the full calendar in place, and the only thing left is for me to find a second capital touch point, and I'll be back in touch with you.
Jennifer, that was your motion.
I didn't, that was just comments because I didn't get them in before the motion. I guess I could do a replacement motion to approve the calendar as presented, with Mac taking the feedback from this discussion and incorporating it in.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Super, that was unanimous. Thank you, folks. Moving on to the next agenda item. This is me with the Reston Icon project. The board heard about this in July. This is the collaboration between RA, Public Art Reston, and Friends of Reston. I think we had a slideshow that we all shared with the board about doing something similar to the Norfolk Mermaid, Chicago Bulls. There is a one-pager in your packet. The reason we're bringing it to this meeting, again, RA is been the facilitator. It happens at our facilities. The infrastructure is us, which is our underpasses, our spillways. The fundraising initiative is led by Friends of Reston. The execution part is by Public Art Reston. So we're not looking for a board vote. This is just nice to share, give you an update, because Friends of Reston will be launching their outreach effort to select the icons, which they have 4 options. Pileated woodpecker, blue heron, write in your own, and I am blanking on the 4th one right now. Yes. Thank you. Yes. And I had requested if they could launch it at our annual meeting, because this is our facilities. For the first time, many community organizations are coming together among the 3 groups just to even get the word out and get the voting happening. All of our Reston schools are involved. Community center is involved. The Public Art Reston is reaching out to other chamber members, to other properties. Kia has a long list of at least 15 other community organizations that they're touching, RCA, RCC, several others. So we would like to have that launch announced at the April annual meeting. However, if you have any comments or thoughts or questions, I'm happy to answer those and to go back to the 2 others with any feedback. Any thoughts? Go ahead, Jennifer.
I don't really totally understand RA's involvement in the project. When I read the materials, it seemed like it was an icon that would be selected in Reston. But from what I thought I remember previously is that this was art that would be put on our spillways or our underpasses. But now it feels more like we're picking an icon for Reston. And if that's the case, then I would think before we do anything, we would go ask some of the other major Reston organizations if it's something they want to collaborate with us on. And then it wasn't clear what Reston Association piece versus the FOR piece. Like, is there money that's involved? Is there staff time involved? Like, I just don't.
Sure.
I tried to understand it and I didn't.
I think what was shared in the July meeting was the three parts to it and the three groups and the different roles we all play. Public Art Reston does underpass art on all of our underpasses when possible. Larry, is it 4 that we have completed at the moment? And then the 5th one is right now being considered.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
How many underpasses do we have that have public art on it already? Is it 4 and we have a 5th one in the way?
4. Yep.
4.
One is only a wing wall down at Moorings Drive, but that's, yeah.
We had talked about wanting all of our underpasses covered. There was some interest expressed in wanting art beyond just Lake the Rose spillway art and having art on all of our lakes. And the icon piece is the funding mechanism initiated or led by Friends of Reston. So the icon will be, yes, it's a move to bring all of the organizations together. And Jennifer, to answer your question, if you look at Kia's list, it does include almost every group we can think of in Reston, not just RA properties, so that everyone feels like they're a part of it. The icons in their spring fundraiser next year, the goal is to have them auctioned off or sold in order to raise those funds to then cover the artwork that will go on RA facilities. So RA is the beneficiary to the monies that are raised out of this initiative. The fundraising piece is being handled by Friends of Reston. And then the ones who are actually doing the art or working with the artist, which is what Public Art Reston has always done. That's the role they play. I don't know if that answers your question.
Is there staff time and funding?
From our end, the staff time would be communications assistance, which we have provided in the past to Friends of Reston. And then I think when the actual art happens, Larry and team at CSF, I think, help actually install the art on Lake the Rose Spillway. Those kinds of efforts which staff have already been involved in. So nothing separately in addition to it. So communication.
And you mentioned there's a list that Kia has. Is that, do we have that? I mean, I think that maybe that's the piece that I don't understand is what.
If you have some organizations you want added to that outreach list, we're happy to add them. I can have her share the list with you. I can get the list from Friends of Reston.
Oh, so it's just an outreach list. Okay, I didn't.
Correct. It's just an outreach list. The founders or the collaborators is FOR, PAR, and RA. And then the partners or the community partners coming in. Within the 3 groups, we've got a massive reach of almost any organization in Reston. So RCC, Cornerstones, the Chamber, other properties, the businesses, RCA, will all be part of that community partner list that helps get the outreach out for the effort. I think I have Travis and then Margaret. Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, forgive me since I wasn't part of this last July. I have no idea what this is about.
Sure.
So I'm looking at this and the questions that I have, really kind of echo Jennifer's question, in so much as really, what does RA have to do with this? One. Two, I see the word icon, and it just concerns me a little, in so much as we're looking for like a new Reston, like something that's going to go next to the word Reston on our heads in these meetings. To replace that tree, we'll have a blue heron, and I don't know. I guess I just need a lot more insight into this before I know anything.
Sure. So to give some background, this was an initiative, again, that I had reached out to those two groups last year when I started as board chair, board president here. There are communities around the world and in the US that have sort of their emblem or their symbol, right? Which is, Chicago has the bulls, and in different tourist spots, you see the bulls, they're painted different colors. I can send out the original presentation that we shared in July as well, again, if that'll help. Norfolk has the mermaids. I think overseas they have several others. Albany has a dog. So it's a standard.
Has ponies. Yeah.
Correct. There we go. They have the ponies. So it was an initiative to sort of bring that one Reston theme and bring all of us together. But also, if we want to do art in our underpasses, as you've heard at South Lakes and a lot of others, when we have public art in the underpasses, the amount of graffiti goes down, and it just enhances the community. But there is a way we have to pay for all of those. So this was just a suggestion of, we can do both, where we can get all of the Reston groups to come together under a common feel-good initiative, get the school kids with like coloring sheets where they get to pick the icon, they color the one they want, or they can send in a drawing with something they like. And then taking it a step further, we're getting people to buy these at an auction or buy them blank and paint them however they like. And bringing that aspect along with the fundraising, which is critically needed for us to get artwork at all of our underpasses. We have 24, 25. Larry, I'm looking at you. Sorry.
That's correct. I don't overpass.
Okay. So to get them all with public art done.
Okay, so this was a board initiative that.
This was we initially just had the conversation, the three chairs, me, the chair of Friends of Art, Friends of Reston and Public Art Reston. Okay. And then each of us brought it back to our boards to say, hey, the three of us are pursuing this. What do you think? Any objections? Should we continue? And all three of the boards sort of head nodded and said, yeah, go keep talking. So we're coming back and saying Friends of Reston have reached a point where they have now actually commissioned local artists to do the sketches for the other two. The pileated woodpecker we already have. And they're working with our communications team to put together sort of a one-pager that, starting in April, will be announced at our annual meeting, and folks all over Reston will be able to participate, color, choose, see what you like. So that's the step there. Moving on, I had just asked if they could make that announcement at our annual meeting, and I'm coming here and asking you guys if we're okay with that as an added push at our annual meeting, that statement.
Thank you.
And Public Art Reston has helped with identifying the artist. That's the piece they play for it. Okay, I think John has his hand. I'm sorry, Margaret, and then John. Go ahead, Margaret.
I'll be very quick. I just wanted to say, when I read the information we were provided, it became more clear to me, a reminder of what had been discussed when I first joined early on. Actually, Virginia Tech has the Hokie Birds all over Blacksburg, and they
right.
use it as a fundraiser. And the Hokie Birds themselves are now owned by the different businesses that it sits in front of. So whether it's at some of the shopping centers. Mellow Mushroom owns one. The post office area has one. So it is fun to go around and try and find all the different Hokey birds. So I can see where this would be, a neat thing to be added to the scavenger list that RA already does as one of those great fun family events.
Thank you, Margaret. John?
As the bird watcher on the crowd, who adopted the pileated? Wasn't the pileated already adopted by some organizations?
Walker
Correct.
Nature Center. wasn't it?
Pileated woodpecker was done by the Walker Nature Center, and there was an initiative, then outreach that went out. They were outside, I think, like Safeway and things like that with
No, I
forms.
I understand. The pileated was adopted by Walker Nature Center. Walker Nature Center is operated by Friends of Reston or by RA?
All right,
All right.
all right.
So has RA already adopted the pileated then?
For
Not
Walker
for this
Nature.
purpose.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about confusion. We have one of our organizations has already adopted the pileated, and if we go and adopt, and I don't care.
It's a
But I-
trivial matter. People get confused about this, then so what?
Yeah, that's my concern, is that, we have an official
Well,
bill.
We do have an official bird. Reston voted on it, but also, I mean, John, if you go to the Nature Center, they also have, somebody help me out. There's Myrtle the turtle or something, and there's
Oh,
also
yeah.
a squirrel. So, and they all come out to play together at the different Nature Center events. So if we're saying, okay, well, we can't have more than one, well, we've already shot ourselves in the foot there.
Okay.
And there's
who
not a
knows?
good blue heron costume.
Correct. And the pileated woodpecker is on the list. So who knows? Maybe Reston will come back and say, this is what we want. But the effort, the outreach is to include all of Reston, everybody as much as possible, get involved, color. Yes, Lori, go ahead, Lori.
I endorse this. I think it would be a fun thing to do at our annual meeting. And it would probably be the main news that gets covered or publicized. So I don't know if the other organizations are on board with having it as an RA announcement, but if it's going to be on RA property primarily or largely, then, let's do it.
Thank you, Laurie. So they are okay with it. I've asked that both the Maggies be available at the meeting. Again, depending on how it goes tonight, I said I'll confirm. And they will be there to share. It'll be great to share with our community partners. This is a one opportunity to get as many Reston groups together as possible. So that said, if we're all okay, I don't need a vote. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Guys, we are 7 to 18 days, or is it 19 days from annual meeting. How are we launching a project in 18 days?
They have been working on this for the last few months, Jennifer. So that all we're doing is just providing them some airtime at our annual meeting. We're not working on it today. It's been a process for the last over a year, and they have everything ready to go. So it's just the announcement. We're giving them maybe 5 minutes of our annual meeting. That's all there is to it. Mac has his hand up. Go ahead, Mac. And then I think we wrap this up.
I think I was just going to clarify any staff work between now and the annual meeting. It sounds like, because I think you were just super clear, it sounds like none, and they're just coming and making an announcement, and then any potential RA involvement would happen sometime well after that, or whatever it is.
Correct. And I think Mike, Leone, and Kia have already been working on the one pager, and that's been going on for like the past 2 months or so. Is that okay with everyone? Everyone's clear? Any other questions? We are 12 minutes to 9:30. So if we're okay to move, I'd like to move to the next item on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, folks. Moving on, pool schedule. We've had the video, we've seen it, but we've asked for it to be discussion and action. So any questions and thoughts for Laura? I know she's on here. I saw her a minute ago. There she is, Al Kowalski. Hey, hi, Laura. Sorry to keep you up so late. So, directors, any questions? Laura, do you have any quick comments you want to make? You want any feedback from us?
I don't. I'm really pleased that I just want to give some kudos to the aquatics team for really, it was lots of time and effort to really maximize the additional dollars that you all approved. And so thank you very much for that. It really is responsive to what the members' requests were. And hopefully the presentation and those few slides showed exactly where those dollars were going, which is what you all heard at the end of last year. So that's it. I'll field any questions should you have them.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions, directors?
Do we need a motion on this or is it informational?
It was informational. We asked for it to be changed to discussion/action. So we don't have any motion in our packet for this, but if you have any changes or something you want to make a motion, go for it. Go ahead, Jennifer.
The reason I asked for it to be a discussion is because I remember it was towards the end of last pool season when we asked if we could add some time dates. I think it was weekend dates towards the end. And Laura's team isn't ready yet to provide that last session schedule. And so I wanted to ask if we could bring that back. I believe she had put in her packet around June. She thought she might have that available, because I think that was the pieces where we had members that were asking, and it might behoove the board to look at it. I was also interested, I'm assuming, because there was a pool of money that we put in the budget for you kind of to decide what to do with that, with the schedules. I really thought that we would see some requests for those later night hours at some of our pools, especially since, we have people that will play on our courts until like 8, 8:30, until that sun really goes down, especially in the height of the summer. And I know that families typically in the summer during the week would not have, like 7 o'clock is early, I would think, for families, right? They get home, they get settled, they get to the pool. It's probably 6 or 6:30 at that point. So I was curious if you had heard any of that type of feedback in your survey. I know you do surveys for pool pass holders.
So we can, we do, to comment on your first comment for what we consider season 4 in the slide, and that's slide 11. With Lake Thoreau and with Shadowwood pools, we do have a draft schedule for those facilities that are there, and we truly are kind of waiting on Lake Thoreau and Shadowwood dates for it to be turned over from construction to the operating staff so we can get it open and ready. And that schedule we're hoping to have available and posted by June 1st. So just making comment there. And then to answer your question about where else did we glean information to create the schedule, that was through the recreation pass survey that was done in the fall, and then also the comments, emails, interaction on site. And so all of that information that was pulled together was incorporated into the schedule. So what that survey does is it really breaks down when you would prefer to use, and also with the community survey, we'll get some additional information on when people prefer to use the facilities if they weren't open. And I think that for the next year's schedule, that will really help show where we can potentially alter the schedule to be responsive to member suggestions.
Laura, you have your hand up. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, Laura, I don't know if you remember, but late in the season last year, it was Mandy Dawson and a bunch of other lap swimmers who got together and provided a lot of input by way of emails. And I had shared that they had hoped that they could also be part of a discussion with you and your staff in providing this, in formulating this proposal. And I just was curious whether you reached out.
So we did reach out to everyone that submitted questions, comments, concerns, and did receive responses back with thank yous. So
Great.
we did not sit down and have a discussion, but we did
Right.
exchange emails, and we will also
Great.
be following up with those people that reached out to share the schedule so that they can see where their suggestions were instituted.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Bob, go ahead, Bob.
Laura, can I ask a favor?
Sure.
Not tonight, but when you have 2 seconds, could you give us an idea about just how big the survey is? You know, how many participants
Sure, I can get some.
participate, and
Mhm.
how many emails, distinct emails? Because I know we issue about 20,000 passes a year. So it'd be interesting to find out, you know, just how big a group it is.
Sure, happy to do that. I had the survey with me last night for the pickleball meeting. So I apologize, I don't have it with me this evening, but I'm happy to share that information. So the total number of responses, and then also the individual email number of email addresses that we sent to. Got it.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Laura. Directors, if there's no other questions, are we okay to let Laura go? Okay, good night, Laura. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here with
all.
us. Thank you.
Laura, please do not leave because you're coming up
sorry.
again soon.
Oh, correct.
You are done
Yeah,
with this.
sorry.
Please do not leave.
I'm so sorry. I forgot you were on the agenda later. Sorry, you're the last item there. Hang on. Okay, treasurer's report. Thank you, Bob, for the video. That was fantastic. Any questions, comments, folks? If there's no questions, I have one question for Bob. I know in the past, the CEO and the board president have put out letters as part of our annual report. To me personally, I think it'd be helpful to have one from you as the treasurer with a little bit of sort of background and where we are at. But I'd like to hear if the rest of the board is okay with it. Are you okay with you know, putting like a one-page note to our membership from a financial?
It was my intent to put together a pretty comprehensive review of financial information. I did it in 2020 and intended to have it ready for the annual meeting.
Annual meeting. So yes, so
And I
we do
can
the annual meeting.
summarize
but
it in one page.
Fantastic. And Mac, do you have a deadline when we need to give that to Mike Leone? I think it was end of March.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't. I think it's end of March.
Yeah.
I think the.
That's cool.
Yeah.
At least it's not tomorrow.
Not
No,
tomorrow.
no.
Not tomorrow.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if the-
so if we're gonna end up having 3 different things, just to make sure we coordinate, you know, and so as they come in, if there's anything that looks like it conflicts, I'll get you both together and talk about it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And the rest of the board is okay with us adding the financial piece to the annual report? Thank you so much. Thank you. So everyone's good with giving you more work. So we're on board with that. Okay, if there's no other questions on that item, we are okay to move to land use and comprehensive plan. Before we go into that, if I could request Jennifer as vice president, are you comfortable sharing the rest of the meeting by any chance? I have to drop off at 9:30.
Sure.
I think that's how as much as I can put my family through when I'm on vacation, but
Sure.
okay. Super.
Thank you, Madam President, and enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. As you heard, I have some homework to do. But okay, go ahead, Jennifer, if you want to start, since we don't want to stop mid-agenda, if you want to go ahead from agenda item N.
Sure. So, sure. Land
Tony,
use and
But point of order, Tony, do we need a motion to extend beyond 9:30? No, it's 10:30. That's right.
10:30, correct.
yes.
Hopefully we're done by then.
So item
No
N, land
pressure,
use.
Jennifer.
Land use and resting comprehensive plan updates. And Larry had a video for us on this as well. Larry, is there any additional comments you wanted to make or any updates you've gotten since last week's video?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is that one of the last slides has to do with the Lake Ann economic visioning piece. That there was a survey that closed on March 10th, and perhaps some of you did that. It was really focus on the individual. There is a visioning charrette, I guess, for lack of a better term, on Monday, April 10th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at RCC Lake Ann. I think you have to register for that so they know how many people to, I don't know, they're going to bring people up into tables or so forth. And on the slide that was in the packet and also, you know, in the video, I kind of left a question out there, which is, you know, what does this board want RA's role to be with respect to that? Thus far, the approach that StreetSense, the consultant, has taken is really focused on the individual activities, actions, interests, and so forth. So I just want to, you know, get a sense of what role does the board want to take and how do we get there? Because, you know, we don't have a real quick method to, you know, consolidate all the board members' opinions on what they think Lake Ann should or could be. So, right. And I know, Mac, you may want to chime in on this since he's got a planning background as well. So it's just kind of a question that I posed at the end of that presentation.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add is the county staff reached out and asked for RA to weigh in as an entity. So I called back over there and had a couple of conversations trying to understand what the overall effort was so that I would have a better sense of how to talk to you all about what that might look like. So for example, in the comp planning process, there was going to be a comp plan document that was going to do certain very specific things. And you all eventually adopted positions on that. And there's been some, you know, red lines and other stuff happening. In this effort right now, the county's contracted with a group named StreetSense to do a survey to then facilitate a public discussion somewhere in the April 10th or 12th timeframe. And then I know I am super unclear about what's going to happen after that in terms of any actual deliverables or implementation tools. So I think what Larry and I are after now is, one, update you on that, two, tell you that we plan to attend that public input session, which is going to be at RCC, as I understand it, and get a sense for you if you're going to want to track that and weigh in as RA, as an entity. We can start thinking of ways to get things in front of you and understand more of the timeline coming after the survey results are published. But that's really all we know at this point.
Mac, what was the date on that again, please?
So April 10th.
Thank you.
5:30 to 8:30.
I think we've been asked to make a judgment call here on how much do we want to get involved. I know Lake Ann is probably important to all of us, but Erwin, since you're the Lake Ann Tall Oaks representative, do you have any thoughts on how involved or what we might be able to do as a board?
Well, I think we certainly should keep an eye on what's going on and get a better sense of what they're looking at. And we may want to have a conversation or two with some of the people at Lake Ann itself. And the best place for that, I guess, is going to be at that charrette to hear that. Because that'll be, if I'm understood correctly, RCC at Lake Ann. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
And perhaps reach out to the board of LARCA. And but there are plenty of other areas that is clusters and living areas that surround Lake Ann, which will probably be concerned as well. It's not just LARCA. So I think that looking at what they may have to say and attending that meeting would be minimum. And then perhaps asking them directly what their input might be would be to follow up.
Bob?
a question and a comment. Question, if I recall correctly, we own the dock at Lake Ann, and we also own the fountain. That's the extent of our property rights in Lake Ann, correct?
We have a 1 acre parcel that is fully
Oh,
treed,
yes.
right?
And we own the lake, right?
And the lake, yes, yeah. Good point, John.
Small matter.
Yeah, it's a little teeny piece of it. So yeah,
But
those are the
the
property.
part that needs to be renovated are the buildings in the surrounding area. The lake is, I'm sure the county doesn't care that much about the lake. It's our problem.
No, they're gonna fill it in and pave it over, according to one of our friends.
The other is I agree with Erwin. The more information that we have, the better off we'll be. So get in early and stay informed. I'll be cynical and say the county is looking for sources of funding to renovate or revitalize the area. And we will be on tap.
And, you know, we asked to be included in the Reston Town Center North Committee and they say no, but they reach out to ask us to, we want to be involved in this Lake Ann for the reason I suspect that you just stated, that they're looking for someone with pockets to fund it.
Or they just want to be able to check the box and say they asked.
Probably a little bit of all of the above.
There you go.
Well, I think, you know, based upon what we've heard, you know, it's certainly my intention to, you know, attend that, register to attend, and I suspect
Thank you.
Mac may as well. I'm guessing the way they typically do those will be at separate tables, which is good to have a little more ear to the ground, and then we can kind of report back what the, you know, if we get some sort of general sense of the conversation there. And then, you know, they're hoping to wrap the whole thing up. If you saw the timeline in the slide deck, you know, sometime in June. So they've got a pretty fast trajectory in this thing. So we'll have to get back with you all, you know, certainly no later than May with anything that we have or any gems we can pull out of it.
Is there anything in writing that they have made public?
Now, just the only thing that, and I think we sent this around when it first came out, it was just sort of it was like a one pager.
Yeah.
The intent of the study.
It was very high level and without very much definition.
Yes.
I agree with Erwin that I'd like to get some feedback from our members to have a position. I like asking the clusters or LARCA, but because it's been so high level, I'm not sure what at this point we would be asking them. But we might be in the middle of a board meeting cycle where maybe at that April meeting, we have enough information where we then would feel we could ask the membership for their thoughts on positions. So I wonder if it would be helpful to staff that we provide direction now in case you guys need to keep it moving, or does the board feel that if we are going to reach out to members, we all need to look at the letter? And
I've been somewhat involved, Madam President. Excuse me.
Go for it.
I have, over the years, as some of you may know, been somewhat connected to the in support of the current membership of LARCA, and have, as a result, had some insight to this. And I think that this study is really focused on the LARCA property. Maybe there's some impact on clusters, but my sense of it is it's really focused on repositioning the LARCA Plaza and the parking lot, and at the end of the day, trying to generate income by redeveloping the parking lot and having the parking lot and selling off the development rights to the parking lot in order to fund a rebuild of Heron House in particular. That's what I pick up in conversation, is that what Supervisor Alcorn is aiming for. But Larry, I could be wrong on that, but that's the suspicion, is that what this is all about. And like every consultant, when you hire them, they ask you what you want and they give you back what you asked for. And in the meantime, you give them 5 figures for the exercise. So they validated that it was an independent review. So I'm not quite sure that, I'll be going there because of my friendship with members of the LARCA board. But I'm not quite sure there's a role for RA to play in that. Certainly, I wouldn't want to be across purposes with the LARCA board. So I kind of want to let them, I would kind of want to let them lead, and us be in a supportive role to what their perspective is.
Yeah, I guess my only follow-up, John, to that is that kind of going to what Bob had said. I think it's important that RA be involved, because what we don't want to have happen is have all the participants agree that, hey, RA already does, common area maintenance, so just give them the plaza. We'll just redistribute the wealth and so forth.
Let me help you out. They couldn't do that if they wanted to, because the plaza is owned as a common area by the condominium association. So they couldn't give us, and we wouldn't take a plaza.
Right. But I think, you may recall, John, that back in the 90s, many prior boards before this provided annual funding to support the plaza for a period of about 5 or 6 years, and it gradually decreased and then went away. So I just think we need to protect our interests.
Oh, that's sure.
With respect to, hey, let's task RA with that. And, while we may not be able to, state a position, I think we need to have our ears to those conversations.
Yeah. I absolutely agree.
I agree as well.
Go ahead, Margaret.
So I guess, Larry, are you looking for a motion, or are you guys already doing this and therefore there's nothing for us to do other than to be aware of it?
It's the latter. Yeah, we're gonna attend. At least I'm going to attend, and we'll bring back whatever material or insights that we can, and you'll kind of go from there. I think, as Jennifer said, I think we have to be pretty nimble with this because of the timing.
So I think we have a path forward there. Any other items or questions related to the land use and resting comprehensive plan? Yes, Bob.
Just quickly, I don't know whether anybody saw or absorbed the Supreme Court of Virginia voided the recent change to the zoning ordinance called ZMOD. So I believe that that ordinance was used to justify denying our permit for lighting at Barton Hill. So I just mentioned that because everything is back in a state of play. It's kind of like having to review all the convictions by a prosecutor. And there have been an amazing number of projects that have gone forward in this section of the county since the beginning of last year. So it is going to be a wild ride at zoning.
So it strikes me that there had been a conversation, Madam President, between myself and our supervisor about fixing the zoning administrator's interpretation by amending the ordinance This is our opportunity to accomplish that, because there's no question that the board, the county board will readopt ZMOD, but they will have to go through the full process. They'll have to go through planning commission. They'll have to go through board hearings and on and on. So it might be worthwhile to direct staff to find a way to make a corrective amendment as part of the ZMOD readoption. And if you need a motion, I'll make it. But a corrective amendment to override the, what is it, March zoning administrator's interpretation?
I think that's what it was, yeah, March 10th or 11th.
I need a second.
I'll second that, John.
Okay, so does everyone understand what we're requesting or
Me-
have any comments?
Yeah, so I just, the end goal here is just the purpose, not for Barton Hill, but for future.
Correct.
Okay.
The object here is to avoid having to go through a $500,000 PRC amendment process every time we want to make an improvement to one of our facilities.
So what are you proposing the corrective amendment?
I
about?
don't have the language, ma'am, because we only saw it like at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm directing staff, my motion is direct staff to look for an opportunity to accomplish such an amendment. And, you know,
And is that, and that's what
happy to-
Travis
happy to
seconded?
help out.
Mhm.
Correct. That's what Travis has seconded.
Yeah, and
I'm in favor.
Yeah, if I can just speak to that, yeah, we'll need some assistance either from John, who has experience with this, or
Right.
or whomever, because that is that I don't think that's in Mac and I's necessarily wheelhouse on what are the specific steps to get there. So
And I guess what I would be concerned with in this motion is if the county is not amenable to this, have Mac and Larry then drop the ball. Like that, I want to be very clear of all we're asking for is them to try to work with the county to make a change. And if the county says, yeah, too bad, so sad, nobody's blaming Mac and Larry for dropping the ball.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Hey, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Unanimous.
Right, unanimous. So we're good there.
And do we have, I assume that this is not an immediate tomorrow need, correct?
Right. We don't even know when they're going to schedule public hearings in front of the planning commission or the board, or I'm sure the board, I'm sure the county attorney's in shock. And so there'll probably be a conversation at the next board meeting as to, okay, now what do we do? Especially in light of all of the approvals that were made since the ordinance was adopted in 2021. You've got almost 2 years worth of subdivision approvals, site plan approvals, zoning, special exceptions, all of that.
I just want to make sure that we give clear direction to staff as to what we're talking about time-wise.
I expect Director Perry that the next thing that'll happen is the staff will come back to us and tell us what the board schedule is, and that'll give us a better sense of where we go, because it'll be up to the Board of Supervisors to figure out when and how they're going to get this done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other items?
And it's an election year.
Yes, right.
It's true. Very true. While you might be thinking of anything else on this topic, just wanted to remind everyone that SSPA meeting was this evening, as we have been meeting by the Planning Commission. One of the things that came out was a recommendation for the TSA submissions through that process to be grouped together and a a Ruston TSA study done after the comp plan is approved, which our best guesstimate at this point is a July timeframe for that. So it'd be after that. My concern, just personally, is that we want to make sure that our members and RA have a place to continue to provide feedback in the SSPA process as it moves forward, and that this doesn't turn into a county staff only process. And so love to keep it on our radar screen and follow it as it continues. Any other items as part of the, okay. So moving on to capital projects, and Chris provided us a video. Chris, is there anything that you would like to update us on since your last week's video, or are you just ready to entertain questions?
No, regarding the Barton Hill meeting last night, we have some kind of updated direction there and some next steps we'll be taking. So outside of that, I'm happy to answer any of the questions.
Hey, Jennifer, I might just want to add a few things on that. I was reflecting a little bit on the Barton Hill meeting, last night and into this morning. And I think I just wanted to mention to the board, we heard a lot of good feedback last night about some things that they would like us to be, the people and the members would like us to be thinking about. Some of that stuff we have been thinking about already. Things around noise attenuation. Certainly we think a lot about traffic safety and some of the stuff that came up. There were some member comments earlier in the meeting on some of those things. Anyways, I just thought I would mention to you all that when we come back, we're going to come back with the main topical areas and some options for your consideration. Overall, I thought it went relatively well last night, but some of that stuff was already on all the radar screen. It just hadn't been scoped yet. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that to the board, and obviously we'll be back in touch and we'll be out in the community talking to folks about it.
John?
One comment on Barton Hills and then a question about Hook Road. A very, very smart woman mentioned to me today that if people are talking about pickleball being a really social event, hopefully we incorporate Chris into the final design, more than a few benches and places for people to sit around while they're waiting for their turn to get on the court. And I thought that was a brilliant idea that I hadn't heard last night. And I hope you incorporate it into the next exercise. Moving on.
Not hard to do.
And moving on to Hook Road, Chris, you can imagine what my question is going to be, so I hope you don't think I'm sandbagging you. The date of the submission, when did we submit our answers to second round comments?
I don't have the exact date for you, but it was not that terribly long ago. And I will be following up with Kimberly Horn first thing tomorrow morning to get sit rep on that. But I believe we are still in that window, and I still need to actually get the permit fees submitted as well. So the purchase order and all that kind of stuff for that is also in progress at the moment.
Well, the reason I'm asking is they only have 45 days.
It hasn't been that long.
No, I understand that. What I want to know is the board should know what the 45-day, when does the 45 days expire?
I'll get back to you on that and let you know exactly where we are in that timeline, but we haven't hit that point yet.
Well, my concern is that we're not going to have a regular board meeting until May, and I got to believe that 45 days is long gone by the time we get together again in May. And the next step ought to be sending the 10-day letter. I'm not going to make that motion tonight, but I wouldn't want to come to May and see 45 days has expired and the 10-day letter hasn't been sent. Mac, this is really directed at you.
Sorry, John, I'm multitasking. Yes, I hear you. as we track those kinds of deadlines, yes, I think we can accomplish your goal. I think what I'm not clear on is what needs to come back here or what the question of the full board is. I hear what you're asking us to do.
Well, I'm not sure the board needs to act. I need the staff to be assertive and expecting the county staff to react in short order. I mean, this goes back to safety issues. We can't move those backstops and get those kids out of those streets without this site plan approved. And I've been banging on this before I even got on the board. And I don't want to have a 7-year-old get killed on that street. When I was coaching at that level, I couldn't pay attention to the game because I was keeping my players out of the street or keeping their siblings out of the street. And this is like, we had a lot of emotional conversation last night about Barton Hills and the crosswalk. And we can't move those backstops until we get this site plan approved. So, I mean, to me, my hair's on fire here. And I mean, I want us to be aggressive in saying to the county, enough already. Let's get this site plan approved so we can get the work done. Chris has his hand up, Madam President.
Yes, Chris.
Digging through the plus system, it was submitted, the comments were resubmitted on March 2nd.
Okay, so we're gonna have, it'll be 60 days before we have a board meeting again. Mac, I seriously want you to look at sending that 10-day letter in on the, you want to send it in on the 50th day, God bless. But they got 45 days to act.
Thanks, John. I follow that. And I think one of the things you've raised in the past is how can we stay more on top of permitting issues, particularly when county staff have an obligation to respond in a particular time. That is something Chris and I are looking at in terms of how we're tracking that, but more importantly, how our consulting teams, whether it's engineering firms, could be architecture firms or whomever, so that we can be, I don't want to use the wrong word, but aggressively, tracking how we can be more expeditious through those processes.
Larry?
John, do you have an example? Have you drafted one of those that you could send us as an example?
Oh, yeah.
Please, yeah, if you could send that to Chris and I and Mac, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Do me a favor, Larry, and just send me an email to remind me, because I'm trying to settle an $11 million sale tomorrow morning, so I don't want to forget it.
I'll send it momentarily.
Thank you.
Any other comments on capital projects? Then I'll share my comments. I think that we have about $7 million of projects in play that are part of what this board or previous boards have approved. I'd like to see us be a little bit more intentional on approving the key decision points. I've seen previous boards approve, and I don't think that we have done that as well as I've seen previous boards do. For instance, on Shadowwood, we kind of have this two-phase approach. And did we approve phase one to move forward? I think that we need to show the staff the support that the board is following, tracking these projects and approving them, so that the community affirmatively knows that the board is behind staff. I think in order to do that, we need to, review these key decision points and either affirm them or give suggestions on things that we would like to see changed. Did my headset? I keep feeling like it's okay. I keep feeling like it's dropping out. And I'd like to show more support or more intention with us as a board in approving them instead of receiving reports and not making comments. For me personally, I feel like in order to do that, I need a little bit more information from staff on things like the plan drawings than something in the corner of a PowerPoint presentation. Something more along the lines of what we received on Lake Thoreau before the board approved that, where we had an idea. And I also would like some feedback. I'm feeling like we should make a key decision point before staff go out to the county and start permitting or go to DRB and asking for those approvals, so that it's not done twice. So if they go to DRB or the county or whoever to get approval and then come back to the board and say, hey, is this okay? Then and we decide that it's not, then it would be going through that process a second time. So those are my comments on capital updates. Also wanted to thank Chris. I sent a bunch of questions and he expeditiously got me back the answers, and they are very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, anything?
I have a question with
Sure.
regard to Shadowwood.
Mhm.
If the timing of the termination of the first phase is late August,
No, it was next to the bed.
This is Jackson's.
that does present a bit of a problem in that I don't know how much time you will have for operation of the pool before actually it would have been terminated under the regular application of rules, or any time, and how you will have operations if that's the case.
I had a similar thought related to the Lake Thoreau pool. Are we getting so late in the pool seasons that we won't actually be able to use the pools before we're asking staff to close them?
Similarly, we responded at the South Lakes listening session that those pools would be available midsummer, and I don't know that August is counts as midsummer. So I think we've got, to Ricky Ricardo, it's some explaining to do.
So the construction schedule for Lake Thoreau, for example, there's a lot of different elements going on. And as I mentioned in the previous, slides and comments, we're dealing with a specific issue with the sanitary line right now, which is complex to try to navigate how to get this through. At 50% completion, your accuracy window for completion is 4 and 5 weeks. And as you get further into progression, you can narrow that timeline down tighter and tighter. And so from what I have from the contractor, what we're seeing is looking to be potentially a mid to late August time period where they'd be wrapping things up. We're still trying to get that moved up as fast as we can, but we're still at 50% completion. We don't know what else may come up, still in this process, but we are getting past that kind of critical phase of the project where we shouldn't discover anything new at this point because we've basically done all the digging we need to do. The walls are torn apart, the floor's been dug apart, so we shouldn't run into any more surprises at this stage. And if we can get through these, last couple of issues we're dealing with, we should start seeing a lot of work happening very quickly.
Yeah.
At Shadowwood, until I have contractors actually onboarded and hired, I don't have an exact timetable. I'm going based upon current pace of approvals for like permits from Fairfax County, which are always kind of an anomaly. And then the speed at which the engineers can get their portions completed. I have some idea of contractor availability right now. And so I'm hoping I can try to push that timetable to earlier August than late, and try to at least have, some weeks of operation, but it is challenging to try to narrow something down very tight this early.
And I hear you, and I don't disbelieve anything that you're saying. My concern is that the response that we gave to a couple of members at that listening session was fairly definitive. That they'll be ready midsummer, and because I remember we got pushback from the one gentleman who told us it's not going to happen, and we responded with it's pretty likely to happen. And now it looks like it's pretty likely not to happen. So, I say this not necessarily to call you out, Chris, but in general, we've got to do a good job with communicating this. Because the member who spoke out about this in the listening session, made a really good point that it's been just about it'll be 4 years that that pool's been closed, Shadowwood's been closed, and we've they were hoping, like I think we raised expectations in that meeting, and now we're going to be dashing them like just a week and a half later, and if that's the case, and again, I believe that that's the case, we've got to do a really good job with communicating that and the reasons why to the community. It just doesn't seem fair.
And if we get a quote back from a contractor that says late August, would that, I would hope that you guys might bring us, maybe phase 1 and phase 2 then go together if we're, potentially opening a pool for a week before the end of a pool season. And maybe we relook at how we're scoping or how we're phasing that in. Any other comments?
The 45 days, Mac, runs out on the 17th of April on Hook Road. And Larry, thank you for the email.
Okay, next from Capital Projects, Laura and Margaret, members of PRAC, have been waiting for the member survey, which we added at this session. We've received some materials, I believe, in the emails before. We've given feedback to Laura and PRAC on the member survey, and I think that we're at the final push. So, Margaret, do you want to launch us on this?
Yeah. At this point, we are on the timeline. Laura can happily answer all of those very detailed questions if anyone has them. But PRAC has given their blessing. They had the same opportunity as the board to review the content. What we did ask of all board members was to review that survey content, make sure it met, addressed the intent that had been put forth. Anyone was welcome to provide Laura with feedback. She did take all of that feedback and has been working with noise doctors and the PRAC subcommittee to make sure we're continuing to move forward. However, we did need a motion tonight to keep this on track because the next piece of the next step is the rollout of the survey, and that starts with the communication, which is set to roll out April 1st, with the survey itself set to roll out May 1st. So I will go ahead. The board motion I have is I move to affirm that the 2023 community survey final drafts content and intent is in alignment with the original board motion from the January 2022 regular board of directors meeting. And I move that staff be allowed to move forward with our contractor to roll the survey out. Tony, you can clean that up if you don't like it.
I'm all right with it.
John, if you're trying to talk, you're on mute.
Sorry, second to the motion, Director Perry, you might want to change it, not allow the staff, but direct the staff.
Thank you. Direct the staff.
I just want to clarify that the feedback that we all gave is still being worked on, and we're incorporating that to the best that we can.
I can answer.
Laura?
Yes, I can answer that. So thank you very much for the feedback that everybody provided. Very helpful to have additional set of eyes, and much appreciate the support. So a majority of all of the feedback that you all submitted in writing or through conversations has been incorporated. There are a few that we're still working on, some related to cost and then others just working through the language. So, but a majority of it, yes, has that you all submitted.
Erwin?
Have there been any really significant changes from what the draft that we saw?
Just yours, Erwin. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, there was not anything major. There was some additional research that had to be done related to cost for a couple of the items in the choice scenario section. And then also the question 11, if you remember, I remember it's number 11, was related to financing. So just working on that language before the final draft, because many of you made some comments there, but nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
In the communications and marketing plan, I'm guessing I missed it, but at one point we were talking about having people at the farmers markets and out in the community to ask people to participate.
Yes.
Is that part of the buildup? I
Yes,
must have
so-
missed it.
So we have the one point of clarification is there's on the calendar, there's a specific note to facility outreach, and that's really at the pools and the courts. But there's a other outreach. The farmers market is one example. The Fine Arts Festival will have a booth. Nature Center Spring Festival. So there's a lot of other events where we will have people out with the iPads to engage and try to solicit surveys.
I just missed it. Sorry.
No problem.
It's there.
Lori?
I just wanted to say it's a really good survey, and it's not easy to answer. And so as I, do my own responses and then I rethink myself a few days, hours later, it's like maybe that different answer would have been better. So we are handing our members a real challenge. But I hope that and so when we get feedback, I think that it's important feedback, but I don't think we can be driven slavishly by it, because my answers might change if you asked me on a different day.
And I'm hoping that what you all saw was the raw format. So, what's presented on the iPad with the ability to move.
Yeah,
through,
but they're hard questions. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
One of the pieces that I had of feedback that I was hoping that could be worked through is I've seen multiple surveys come through the membership, and we've had many people come before the board in the past saying, I don't believe in those results because you can't validate that members are the ones that filled it out. And so some of the feedback that I provided was to see if there was some way to narrow down so that we could validate, or we could be able to say that at the end of the survey, that this is true member feedback. This is not feedback, from somebody who lives in Japan, or because we've had that, or someone that, works in, one of the office complexes, but doesn't live in, is not a Reston Association member. And so I was hoping that the team would be able to brainstorm better than I was on how to help solve for that or account for that.
Laura?
Certainly, Jennifer. I'm sorry, Laura. Is it possible for us to use analytics and IP addresses to filter out folks who are from Japan and things along those lines to actually get local IP addresses?
I'll have to bring that back to noise doctors for that specific question, but Director Perry.
Well, I think we need to be very careful. We do have homeowners in Reston who do not live in Reston, and they still get a say, even in this survey. So to sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to check out any IP that is in Japan, for example. Well, we have a member who's currently in India, so we're going to chuck her survey out because she's not. You have to be very careful.
Well, considering the member, absolutely. But
I'm just saying, like, you can't make that glowing statement because you don't know where homeowners live.
That's true. That is extremely broad.
So Madam President, one of the questions on the survey is, what street is your property on? So that gives, without asking for the street number, but just what's the street? And by getting that information, we're able to validate whether or not, in fact, they are an RA member. And
It's
we
a
may
drop.
probably be able to break those results down by district, by the 4 districts, by having that address.
I'm happy to provide you all more information on how and what that looks like and how that will work, who we're sending it to, how we're getting it to them. If that would be of help, I'm happy to send that to you.
Yeah, it's a drop down is how it was listed in the survey. And so drop down doesn't make you affirmatively type in your street name. And that's what worried me, is that anyone could pick a street name from a drop down. And we've been challenged. That's why I'm bringing it up, because we've been challenged multiple times on previous surveys. And so I think that they tried to definitely address it even in the first draft. I just specifically asked if we couldn't try a little bit more to get there.
I'm happy to also provide information on the weighting and how all the information is weighted throughout the community and the answers that are provided.
Great. Okay, any other comments before we vote on the motion? Okay, so all those in favor of moving this forward, essentially, say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous of the board members here. So I think we have disposed of the member survey O prime, unless there's any other member survey comments. No. Okay, new business. Any new business? John.
So I didn't want to do this at the beginning of the night because we had a lot of work to do, but I'm going to ask the board to indulge me for 3 or 4 minutes to thank Glenn Small, who's not here anymore, but who voted to put me on the board, and to thank the other board members who voted to put me on the board last May. I feel very proud of the time I spent here hiring Mac, and the survey that we just adopted, and the AEDs and the transparency improvements that we've made during my time here. And to ask Director Collins, who said, don't let me down, John. I hope I didn't. And I thank all of my fellow board members for their tolerance of my, what shall I say, bombacity, aggression, passion during my time on the board. If I don't see you again, I'll see you around. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, John.
I have no doubt we'll still see you, John, regardless of who makes it on the board.
Maybe I don't come back from Tanzania.
And I do appreciate, like John said, I appreciate you guys having faith in me also. So thank you. It has been a heck of a learning curve, a heck of an enjoyable at times ride. And we'll either way, no matter who wins, I have no doubt that this board will be well represented. The members will be well represented. So thank you.
I'll echo everyone else's thoughts. It's hard to believe it's been 3 years. It's also hard to believe that we haven't had a board meeting in person in those 3 years that I've been on the board. And the innumerable number of meetings that we've had. And if I'm not reelected, I will miss the give and take. I will miss the opportunity to be with you all in person to conduct the meetings, which I think would be amazingly more effective. So I think we have chosen the right person to be the CEO. And that is the these of the decisions that have been made, that's the one that I'm most proud of.
Here, here.
Thank you.
And while everyone's at it, I will do the same. I've only been here for a little over a month. I've enjoyed the time that I've been on, including and especially the BGC meetings. I mean that. Actually, I really do feel like I learned a lot about the operation of this board, and I learned, how these meetings should be conducted. So I do thank you all for the education that I've gotten so far, and I hopefully, knock wood, look forward to my own term coming up. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, your homework is not done because you're all going to assume you're going to be here April 12th in the next board meeting, and definitely be thinking about the business of next board term. With our first board meeting is obviously organization meeting and the election of officers, and shortly thereafter, what committees everyone wants to serve in. So keep your thinking cap on while we're waiting for the results of the annual meeting to get here. I don't have a new business item. I actually kind of think it's an old business item, but I wanted to see if there's anything that the board needs to do, Mac, when we're going to reschedule the Lake Audubon renaming meeting because it was cut short. I wasn't sure if that was something that was in progress or you needed any feedback from this board to get that rescheduled at some point.
No, I don't think so. I mean, when you originally asked for the meeting, you asked for it to be done in February. I assumed that in our communication out that we were going to reschedule, it would be generally as soon as possible when it fit into the calendar. I suppose if there's something different than that from an expectation standpoint, it'd be good to know. But no, I was just going to try to look at the calendar and see where it made sense and slide it in somewhere quickly.
Okay. Bob? And then
Just
John.
given the number of people that showed up, I would strongly recommend having it at the headquarters instead of the nature center.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry Sarah is not here to end the meeting as our fearless leader for the past year, and making sure that we all stayed on target and got our work done in the most collegial manner possible. So thank you all for your service. It's been a pleasure serving with all of you, and we will see each other again at least the annual meeting on April 11th, just to remind all members, please be here on April 11th online, and we will see you then. Otherwise, I call this meeting adjourned because we have finished our business. Night.
So, good night, everybody.